my God. My God. What has happened? How do we consecutively have one of the best years in gaming, but at the same time, the industry itself falls apart at the seams? Phil Spencer. You traitor! You liar! You come in and you tell us this is going to be the best year for Blizzard ever, but you cut off 60%, 40%, whatever the number was! Going up there, seeding your seeds of doubt, your evil machinations, you vile creature! Today, my friends, we have many things to discuss, so much! This has been the most news-filled week that I've been filled with. Probably shouldn't have said that. But anyway, regardless, if there was one thing that I had to tell you today is that today is a beautiful day for gaming news and discussions that we will have here on the Just Gaming podcast. Take your seat, my friends. Today we talk about Enshrouded, the drama that surrounds Palworld. The games we get to look forward to soon. Ooh, some of those Dragon Dogma videos are looking real good. Sit. Grab your... I'm out of coffee, so I can't really use that, but grab your waifu-themed cups as always, my friends. Take your seat. Today is yet again a joyous occasion as we embark on a beautiful journey. The Just Gaming Podcast. Yes.
That was, there it is.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome to the Just Gaming Podcast. My name is Ian, your host, and this is...
I'm Mark. Yeah, and
Marcamus Decimus Meridius.
Marcamus.
Marcamus Decimus Meridius.
It's actually 8% Dark Hollow, 8% Mister, but yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of stuff happened this week. Good, bad, and ugly. So it's been pretty interesting.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. So we start the week off just as we normally do. Welcome everybody to the Just Gaming Podcast. Good Lord, I missed you. It's almost like it's been a whole week since I've seen you.
It's been since last Sunday. So
yeah. Hello, Chris and Jax and KP, Dark Hollow, Eric Man, Xeon, Space Channel 5. The rest of you that haven't been in chat yet, I'm chastising you because I would have said your name otherwise. So whose fault is that? Outside of that, what have you been playing, my friend?
I've played a little bit of Enshrouded. I've played a lot of Palworld. And Palworld's been eating up a majority of my time. Like it is such a fun and easy game to just dive into and just chill, just vibe out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yours and a lot of other people's, actually. I didn't look at the Steam charts, but I know it cracked over 2 million concurrent players.
Yeah, it did. Well over.
Yeah, which I was actually really wondering how the game was going to perform past the week. Because like one of the things that's really weird is that like it was popping off during the week.
Yeah.
Usually games see their highest peaks during the weekend, but we were seeing crazy high peaks during its weekly release, which is wild. Obviously, we're going to talk about plenty of that today because there's plenty of discussions to have around that. But I also have been playing Enshrouded. I played a little bit of Sekiro this week. Got a little bit further. Finally conquered a few one of the bosses, a couple bosses that I was having some problems with.
Okay.
Feels good. Feels good. Definitely feel that like when I went to go play Enshrouded that, it's like, oh, it has a parry mechanic. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's just like nail every parry every single time because you're just...
Yeah.
You're absolutely drilled into focus from playing Sekiro. So it's like, man, yeah. So Palworld, a little bit of Enshrouded. Grand Blue Fantasy comes out next week.
It does, and I will be playing it next week. That's why I'm trying to get Palworld out of my system. Because that's kind of like I really want to dive like headfirst into Enshrouded and and we were talking a little bit earlier before the podcast started that those two games are made for different people, but for people like you and me, it's made for both of us, right? And so it's really unfortunate for me as a gamer for that game to come out at the about the same time as Palworld, because I'm not done with Palworld. I'm not done with the feeling and the dopamine to Palworld to start something else. And if I do that with Enshrouded, if I dive into it, I don't think I will be as positive with my experience as I would be, because I'll be wanting to play something else. You know what I mean? I'll look for stuff to be irritated about.
Yeah. Well, that's like one of the biggest things is that like ever since starting to make videos and whatnot like that, one of the things I've been like trying to do is just like, sometimes I get like overcritical when I'm playing stuff. I'm just like, stop it. Stop. It's bad.
Yeah. Instead of enjoying it for what it is, you know what I mean? I'll sit there and go, well, Palworld does this better, or that stuff. And I just don't. I don't want to do that. To be honest
with you, Palworld actually does a lot of things great. So
it does. It does do a lot of things.
Which I mean, we'll get into that little compare and contrast kind of stuff with some other survival games as well. Yeah. So I've been enjoying both games for completely different reasons. I'm really looking forward to playing Grand Blue Fantasy next week. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Super hyped for that. Like, super hyped for that.
The funny thing is, like, before this year started, I was terrified because I was like, dude, like, are there gonna be any games to cover? Is there gonna be any gaming news to discuss?
2024 is popping off. It is popping off strong.
I'm like, holy, we came in hot this year. Good Lord, man. So it's been an interesting start so far, because I started having a conversation with some people on stream the other night, like yesterday actually. I was talking about some of the stuff that's coming out this year, right? And then as I'm listening, they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's probably gonna be pretty cool, like, because once we get Dragon's Dogma 2, it's gonna be like a long sleep until Path of Exile 2 in the summer. And then somebody was like, yeah, what about Dawn Trail? And I'm like, fuck, yeah, okay, yeah, there's that too. And then somebody else brought something else up. I forgot what the other game was. I'm like, oh yeah, that comes out too.
So yeah, something witches, something Unbound Witch or something like that.
Forgotten Witchstone.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
witches, stones, and Forgotten.
CRPG, really stylized graphics. If I remember, it looked kind of cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's a CRPG, so it's gonna be like, it's up our alley. Whether or not it's good or not, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, I'm just ready for my work schedule to get a little bit normalized, and then I can start playing video games again to the amount that I'd like to play.
That'd be nice. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, dude, I'm like, I'm unemployed right now, and this is the least amount of games I've played with you ever. Yeah. Like it's
how
the hell does that work?
Just my schedule's been brutal. I've worked 2 weeks back to back. Having to work the weekend, and then that was 3 weekends this month so far. So yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough.
Yeah, you'll get past it. Hopefully there's no hopefully you guys don't get any like weird background noise or anything like that during the show today, because there's like some weird sounds outside. I thought it was like a plane that was gonna come hit my house or something, but
it's not.
That's not. I don't know what it is. I think they're doing some work at the house next door or something. My whole like little shack was like shaking, and I'm like, bro, stop.
Stop. Oh man. Yeah, but that's about it. Grand Blue looks to be, like I said, I'm super hyped about that game. What's crazy about Palworld, and it's weird, like working in a large facility like I work in, and you just walk by and you eavesdrop on people's talking, and everybody in that facility, like, you just walk by and you hear the conversation. You know what I mean?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
No, actually, I'm behind the thing like this, like.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining.
No, like you just walk by and catches, bits and pieces of people's conversation.
You just pop out between a couple boxes. You're like, you guys talking about Palworld?
Yeah, let me show you something.
I got a shiny chili.
But yeah, everybody is talking about Palworld right now. Like, everybody is talking about Palworld, and so that game, and like we were talking before the show started, I was like, the ceiling on this game is so much higher than, for me, from what I've seen of Enshrouded, for instance, because this game, depending on what they do, how they keep developing for it, it could be the next. And I'm saying this, but as big as Fortnite. It could be if they just keep going with it.
So you want to just? So, I mean, we can just kind of transition straight into the talk.
Yeah, no one likes to
Palworld
start
this week.
no one starts about a podcast with bad news, right?
Well, I mean, I don't. Well, I guess bad news is kind of contextually depending on what your viewpoints are, but we'll find out. So, all right. So for Palworld this week, yeah, the news and how fast the game caught fire is absolutely insane. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Viral.
Popped off. Space Channel 5, thank you for the membership, by the way. Viral is a really good term for what it went, because it's not that, I don't know, man. I think a lot of it has to do with how negative a lot of people approach the game on social media, and it got a lot of people really interested in it because they're like, oh, well, if Twitter hates it, it must be good.
Yeah. All right.
Which, I mean, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think, like, in my head, I picture everybody on Twitter that's, just like the Twitter commenters. They have like a monocle and they're sipping tea while they're typing. You know what I mean? That's how I picture them. Like, oh, but it's not a Pokemon. I can't believe that they made this game look like Pokemon.
No, excuse me, but the last time that I checked, Pikachu doesn't work in a sweatshop. It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. Like, I saw all the different articles that came out about the game, and I'm like, every time I saw something, I'm like, dude, this is just like Baldur's Gate 3. You guys are literally just throwing gasoline on the fire at this point. It's napalm is what it is. Because you're sitting there like...
Even Nintendo said, guys, quit contacting us. We know the game exists. Calm down.
Like, we're just going to put out a statement so people stop tagging us in posts. Like, when you have PETA going like, yes, we're working on a vegan cookbook for Palworld. And I'm like... What the fuck is wrong with y'all? What is up with this? Like, oh my god!
They should they did so many smart things in the game. Like, I wish you could give like lamb balls like mad cow disease by feeding lamb ball meat to them. That would be hilarious.
You know what the funny thing is that like most of the stuff in the game, like how the game is portrayed in media, is actually far more like divisive and gross in comparison to like what it's like playing the game.
Yeah,
like it doesn't feel like they're like, oh yeah, you get to make them slaves, and it's like, no, they're just like helpers at your base. Yeah, like what are you talking about? There's nothing that like makes it feel like they're slaves or anything like that.
Yeah,
you know
it's not like you go over there and you just hit them with a stick and then they start working. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that'd be kind of a nice little upgrade, honestly.
Yeah, I've set up a spot for them to eat. They've got 3 of those hot tubs to chill in. They got they live better than I do in my real life. You know what I mean?
They got hot tubs. I'm trying to put in a water slide over here. They got a big old basket of fruit they're just chilling off of. And the funny thing is if they were out in the wild, they'd be getting killed by the PAL police or all the other the thugs and all that stuff. You know, I'm saving them. Speaking
of which, the Free PAL Alliance. Why is it they all have these camps and they've all got pals caged up? What is that all about? Like the Free PAL Alliance and they're all caged up.
Oh man, the juxtaposition is so fantastic. It's one of those things where I think one of the reasons why a lot of people are really resonating with Palworld is specifically because of the fact that it's unabashedly itself. Yeah. Like it has personality and it just is this game. So it just leans into those things. And a lot of that stuff is controversial in the eyes of social media. So what ends up happening is the game pops off because people are like, holy shit, this is a breath of fresh air. I can fucking gat down Pikachu. I can build a base, go capture monsters. You can build more than one base. There's like so many different things that you can do. The boss battles are sick in the game.
They're pretty good.
Some of the stuff, especially once you get to like the higher level stuff, actually gets really challenging because a lot of times they have stuff that's in like 2 different packs at once. Like there's like 2 monsters in a pack or 3 of them all together, and you shoot one and all of them attack at once. So you're sitting there like fucking iframe dodging and doing the Matrix and shit, and like just trying to stay alive the best you can. Because as a player, you have like no defenses in that game.
No,
you get
you don't.
shredded. You're just hoping you're hoping your pal takes the hate.
Yep, and I've been learning that to just rotate my pals during the fight, instead of letting them just fight until they die, because they'll if you have a feed bag on you, they'll kind of regenerate a little bit while they're in the ball. You know what I mean? Yep. So that helps a lot. But man, I fought the tower boss in the volcano area. I think it's like level 38 or something like that. And it took me till almost 5 seconds left before time was up for me to finish him. Like I didn't think I was going to finish him. I was literally just running around trying to get that last shot off. And I kept summoning my mammoth and throwing it at him because he's electric based boss. I just kept like doing that. So he do the stomp thing, and I was like, oh my god,
bro. Using the pal spheres as CC is like the next level strat.
Yeah.
You're getting in danger, just throw a ball at him. Even though you know it's going to fail, just use it as CC for a second so you can reposition yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the best thing that you can possibly do. But, yeah, no. I mean, the amount of hate that this game has been getting and is still getting today is just absolutely disgusting. I brought up did you get to watch my latest video?
Yes.
The Palworld one?
This is the one you were talking about where it's... No, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, you know, I pump them out, dog.
I get That's what the
So Eurogamer put out an article, right? A scathing review. They're like, Palworld is the next thing. Everybody's really enjoying it. However, it's absolute rubbish, and it's not worth your time, and it's derivative, and it's primitive, and it's disgusting, and it promotes blah 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 blah. Like, it's just fucking the grossest, saltiest, dumbest article I've ever read. And for the most part, I'm relatively tame when it comes to like how I approach gaming journalists. But this is just so, I'm going to be honest, chat. It's fucking stupid. It's so dumb. Like, people are having fun with it. And the thing is, I remember at the very end of the article, he brings up this whole section about how, well, when you play Palworld, Mark, you're not going to feel like you played somebody's passionate work. You're not going to feel like there's any imagination, innovation. You're going to feel like a mark, not your name, like an actual like somebody tagged by a salesperson.
Oh, because I feel like a mark all the time.
And they tagged you for this, and they're, you know, it's underhanded because it's just a product made to be sold. And I'm like, one of the conclusions I came to in the video was, I'm like, in what fucking world do we live in that when a product is specifically designed and made for an audience, that's a bad thing?
Like, so what product is made that is not meant to be sold?
That's a good question.
Just throwing that out there.
Good question.
Because that company's not in business very long.
So I'm making this product. I'm going to put it on the market, but I'm not expecting you guys to buy it. It's not made to be sold. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why I did. I don't know why I do this to myself. Yeah.
I made these pointy sticks. You can buy one or don't care. All right.
Yeah.
Pointy sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking is I think we're going to have a reoccurring segment on the podcast. And we're just going to call it Who is this made for? You know what I mean? And we'll just whenever we have one of those games that comes out that we don't feel like who the hell is this made for is going to be in that segment.
I think that's actually probably a really good way of actually, I kind of like that idea, Mark. That's good content.
I know.
Yeah, you should start a YouTube channel.
I've got one. I just don't do anything with it.
Yeah, no, you don't. I know.
No, we were talking about like the clipping. I think the clipping for the podcast should be on. We'll talk about it off air. It should be on the main channel.
Yeah. Yeah, bring back legendary news. Look at they're raving.
Yeah, legendary news is the second channel that I've only put like 2 things on. So
yeah,
feel free to subscribe, guys.
Yeah. So But anyway, like some of the articles, it's really weird though. When I mean divisive, this game genuinely is very divisive. There's a lot of developers that are totally on the side of this game where they're like, dude, I saw Arcane developers that were talking about Palworld and they were like, this is fucking genius. Yeah. They're like, everybody's judging this game, but nobody's talking about how well it actually took. Like, yeah, okay, they did go and copy and paste a bunch of shit from Breath of the Wild, from Pokemon, from Rust, from Ark, from, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, they totally did that. However, how is nobody talking about how they made it work? And that was one of the things that they were like, they're flabbergasted. Like, people are so mad about this, but like, they made this work though. Like, it's one thing.
The people that are mad though are the people who haven't played the game, and you can tell that they haven't played the game. You know what I mean? If you play this game, you're not going to be that mad. You're just not. You may go into it with they're just trying to rip off Pokemon, and then once you start playing it, you're like, yeah, this isn't Pokemon.
Yeah, so there's that for sure, because I think that's the funny part is that I feel like the Pokemon part of this is actually like the lesser end of it. You know what I mean? Like the like in the ways that it would rip off a Pokemon game are actually the lesser part of what the overall gameplay loop is like, because it really is just a survival craft game that you would normally play. It just has the added hook that it's also a creature collector. Yep. Right? Yeah. So, and it just blows. But when I'm looking at a lot of the criticisms that I'm seeing, the ones that are coming from developers, most of it's so unbased, outside of like, oh, well, we don't make things just to be, we don't make games and come up with these, imaginative designs and inspiration just to have it plagiarized by somebody else. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, guys, I'm going to have to be honest with you. Why are you fucking lying? You plagiarized everything off of your game from somebody else at one point in time. Every fucking game is derivative in some way from another game. You're always copying somebody else's work. Even the people that are working on Zelda today are the people that are copying off of what the founders made Zelda years ago. So what are you coming with this bullshit that, oh, well, we don't make things so that it can be copied? Yes, you fucking do, because you all do it. You all take from each other. You all talk to other developers. You all copy things from other games that work and go, oh, that would also work in my game. We're going to do that with a little twist. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit less of a twist in Palworld, but regardless, it doesn't matter because the players are enjoying the game. Yeah. But they want to light that on fire. It's so stupid.
You want to prove your point? I'm going to throw a genre to you. Souls-like. There is a whole genre of games that are based off of one game.
I saw this meme. It'd be hard for me to find out exactly where it was, but I saw this meme where it was just like, it had this one picture and it was like, oh, hey, your game's like ours. Oh, we'll call it Souls-like. Then it got like to another picture where it's like, oh, hey, and it shows like Palworld logo, and it's like, oh, hey, your game's like ours, and they're like, fucking die.
Get out.
The massive difference in opinion where it's just like, oh, Souls-like, isn't that cute? Oh, Battle Royale, isn't that cute?
No, I did watch your video because I commented on it because I was reading the comments. And I actually didn't know that, but I have editorial on your comments where I can actually take out the wee heads. But I know you like to read them.
I do. So, don't take away my reading material.
I mean, there was one that was just stupid. It was like, dude, stop talking about BG3. Game's woke. So I was like, goodbye.
Yeah. So you know what the funny thing is? When I hope people know that, like, if you're somebody that watches my content just so that you can be mad all the time and then leave a comment or leave a shitty comment or leave a downvote, like hate watchers, which I know I have a few because I see them. I recognize the names when they comment on stuff, and I'm like, bro, you're actually subscribed just to hate on me.
Yeah,
like, holy shit, touch grass.
It's a hate sub.
Yeah, it's a hate sub. I mean, I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around and watching the videos. But I just want to let you know when I actually sit down to read some of the shittier comments, which I do take time to do that. I always do it from the toilet. So
yeah.
I just want to let you know that's where I leave my feelings about your comments.
Yeah, it's the yeah. Anyway, there was a comment on there, and they were talking about how they did still or whatever. But there is, and that's when I talked about revisionist history. Okay, Pokemon isn't unique in this. They took this from Dragon Age. They took the whole. I mean, it's not an original idea. Yes, conceptually wise, they changed it, but it's not
Creature Collector goes even further back than that. You have Megami Tensei back in 1986.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a new idea. So for revisionist history is because Pokemon's been the most successful at it. Obviously, they're the ones who created the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too that people have to realize is that, like, even though there have been other brands that have tried to emulate what Pokemon has done in the past, none of them have really been all that successful. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Digimon has its fan bases. I loved Digimon as a kid. I fucking loved Digimon. I thought their designs were sick. Especially like their evolutions, because I always thought it was cool that their evolutions were like temporary.
Yep.
Where like you know, they would always go back to their base form.
Yeah, and the cute baby form.
Yeah, and then they all of a sudden was like, I'm more Greymon. And you're like, that is sick. Or then they also had like the fusion ones, which are also so sick, because you had like the two angels that could combine. Oh, bro, I love that stuff. Oh man, if I could I wish I could remember the.
But that's, I mean, and I get where the Pokemon people are, the Pokemon fans are mad, is because the stylings are similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not a unique idea. Pokemon's not a unique idea. And that's what I'm trying to get past, is it's not a unique idea.
No. So my point is that when I try to talk about it, like, people have to realize that there has been other brands that have tried to emulate what Pokemon has done. It doesn't matter, because none of them have been able to scratch the foundation that they've built, how Pokemon has literally become a cultural phenomenon. And the funny thing is that the only way a game could ever make an impact is if it is so different. Then, because like you think about this, Digimon and a lot of these other brands, even the games that come out today. You look at Temtem and you look at Koromon. I've played a little bit of Koromon. These games only emulate Pokemon because they're just trying to do the same thing. And a lot of that's out of appreciation more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
But with that said, that isn't going to get you anywhere. That's not going to get you any popularity. And that's definitely not going to shake up Nintendo and Game Freak to go, oh man, we have a gap that we're missing out there. However, something as abrasive and disruptive as Palworld, that is just such a juxtaposition from what Pokemon is and what this game is, that they're gonna go, oh shit, this is getting a lot of attention. A lot of people are playing this because there's been a massive gap in their audience for a long time. And I don't think that every brand needs to learn how to be able to grow up with its audience, but some brands do need to be able to figure out how to continue to grow with their audience, but also continue to appeal to younger audience as well. Maybe they should have had a different brand or a different type of the Pokemon series branch off at one point that was actually targeted for older audiences that grew up with it. Like a lot of people gave me shit for having an idea like that, and they're like, imagine sitting around talking critically about a children's video game. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, look here, fucker, you're watching the video.
Yeah.
Okay. What is this holier than thou shit? Get the fuck out of here. But
to combat your statement a little bit, is Pokemon doesn't have to change anything and they will still make money. They are in the Call of Duty status area of that. There's no other Call of Duty. There's no other actual Pokemon. They can keep that same still formula, sell two of the same games, two of the same game. They'll sell it twice with a different sleeve on it, and then people will still buy both of them. Because like at this point, the consumer, if you want your games to change, stop buying it. Stop buying their games, and then they'll do something drastic to change what the game is. Because right now, I think I saw the chart that Pokemon is the highest grossing IP of all time. Of all time.
Yeah.
And so it like they don't need to do anything if you keep buying it. But it's good, like you said, that Palworld comes out and shows them, hey, there's other ways to do the same scenario. Where Palworld's going to get in trouble is the updates that they want to work on. And one of them is Pal versus Pal battles. That's when you're starting to get into the realm of Pokemon, right?
I don't think so, because you already have games that are out there right now that do that. Like I just said, Koromon, Temtem, there's a whole other handful of games that play identically to Pokemon. Like identically. Like there is effectively nothing different between Pokemon and Koromon. There's nothing different between Pokemon and Temtem.
Yeah.
Like, there really isn't. Other than, to be honest with you, if you guys haven't played Temtem, like, that's a way higher quality Pokemon game.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
like,
it is.
By a long shot. Like, it's actually really good, and it's an MMO. Like, effectively an MMO. But yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
So, I'm not worried about them being in trouble. And plus, on top of that, at the same time, I think that they're probably going to be just fine, because with as much money as they made and how public this game has become, there's a really good chance that anybody, like, their defense is going to be pretty strong.
Oh,
because outside, like, at most they're parroting like Pokemon designs, but the actual functionality of the game and its mechanics don't matter. Don't matter.
They don't.
No, because they can't. I don't think you can copyright or patent a game mechanic.
No, you can't. You can't, not unless it's something that's hardware designed. You know what I mean?
Maybe,
like audio coming out of your controller.
Zachary
or something
Ben
like that.
with $5 says, to everyone saying the designs are derivative of Pokemon, I say to them, my favorite legendary Pokemon is Slifer the Sky Dragon. Hell yeah, dude. Actually, Slifer the Sky Dragon was sick. All of Yu-Gi-Oh's designs were sick. Dude, I still have a lot of my Yu-Gi-Oh cards from back in the day.
Okay,
and
so
I sometimes I like holding onto those cards specifically for the fact that I just like looking at the art from time to time.
So I was older when Yu-Gi-Oh came out. So can somebody explain to me why the 12-year-old boy sounds like he smokes 8 packs of cigarettes a day?
He only does that when he switches into his Pharaoh mode. Okay. You have to realize that Yami Yugi, he's a complicated character that's also holding the soul of a pharaoh.
He's a good guy. He's just been through some stuff. He's seen some things.
I actually really wouldn't say that the pharaoh's necessarily a good guy. I mean, he was like doing some like dark, like, because like in like the lore for Yu-Gi-Oh, like he was like, I don't know, like they were doing some like Shadowlands or I don't even like Shadow Realm. Like you lose a game of cards back in this ancient
your soul.
They do. They banish your soul to the fucking Shadow Realm. They said. Oh man, especially when they had broken ass mechanics like Pot of Greed and shit like that. It's just there's so many things in that game that were just absolutely busted. Thank you for the $5, by the way. So one of the things that I actually do want to talk about with Palworld, and I discussed this a little bit with I don't know if you saw it, but I was on a video this week with Darth Microtransactions.
I did watch it.
Yeah, so really cool guy, by the way.
He seems super chill.
Super genuine dude, just a nice guy all around.
He's a good thinker. He thinks out his he articulates his thoughts well of what he's trying to do.
Yeah. So one of the things that we ended up talking about was the like future of Palworld and what it's going to look like in the next few months, or in the next, like, even if we're just talking about it in a year. Because, you know, obviously one of the main criticisms that people have for this game is they're like, well, it's just going to be a flash in the pan. They're immediately, how do I say this? They're immediately comparing it to something like, God damn it, what was it? Among Us.
Okay.
Immediately comparing it to something like Among Us, because they think that, you know, like Among Us was a flash in the pan kind of game. It popped off. Content creators got
Fall
huge
Guy.
off of
I think Fall Guys.
Kind of, I guess. I don't know. I think that's maybe still gets played. Probably not nearly as
much. It still gets played, but it's not as large. Yeah, I understand what you're saying though.
Yeah. Sorry. So one of the things that we were talking about was just like the future of the game. Now we didn't really get to go too far into it on the video that I was making with him. However, I think you and I can go deep up in that. So, yeah, because I think there's a lot to talk about there personally. Okay. I'm not even gonna try this. I was gonna play sound clip. That's fine. All right, here we go. So anyway, looking at Palworld's roadmap, right? So on their roadmap, they specifically say that their first thing that they're going to be doing is addressing critical issues. Currently, numerous bugs have been identified, and we are prioritizing fixing those. Sometimes the world date may change and experience may roll back. The load screens may persist, and when trying to load into worlds and so on. Obviously, they also have improvements and improvements. Oh my God, I can't speak today. Improvements to implement first. Obviously, they're working on key configuration or improvements. Improvements to base PAL AI and pathing, which is huge. That needs to change so bad.
Huge.
And then
they
also
are dummies.
And then they also have future planned updates, which is on the side. We can talk about that stuff here in a little bit. But they have PvP, raid bosses, end game content in parentheses there. PAL Arena, Steam Xbox crossplay, various Xbox feature improvements, server transfers and migrations, improvement to base building systems, new islands, PALs, bosses, and technology. Number one, first thing that this game needs to work on is just general quality.
Yep. Quality, and I would say additional content, not mechanics. You know what I mean? Like they need to fix what's in the game right now, add to it with new pals or whatever, fix the dungeon system, the mechanics that they have now before they move on to adding PvP and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Which the head guy said that's what they're going to do. The ASAP stuff is the stuff that they're focused on. The other stuff's just planned.
Okay. So I was worried that they were kind of showing that stuff off. I think they're trying to show it to be like, hey guys, we do have plans for the future. Like there are things that we want to do with the game, but we just want to make sure that you guys know like these are the things that we're trying to do first. Because the game does have a lot of like pitfalls that I really would like them to get fixed. Things that have overall become a little bit of a headache for me and probably for many other people. Mostly stuff like, just general pathing. I was talking about it with Darth, and I'm like, I can't tell you how many times like these monsters get stuck on random objects, and I'm like, why is this like cow in a tree?
You know what really pisses me off is like I'm at base and I have a pal out for a specific task that I need them doing, and then the way I've built my base up, they will be standing on top of the statue, the worship shrine. They'll just be standing up there, just standing on top of it, and I'm like, I need you over here, and I can't even jump up to grab them. I mean, it's like stuff like that is irritating.
So I think something that would be really interesting, and we'll see what chat says about this, because I think the best solution possible is instead of having these pals like basically just like, oh, these pals have these skills, you just let them loose in the camp. If you want to try to give them a specific task to do, you have to pick them up, take them over to that station, and throw them. I would rather interact with the station or interact with another UI where I can just assign them to tasks and they don't do anything else. Because the problem that I run into is that like I need mining materials, I need stone, I need you guys working on producing stone, but all my stone people are instead off, I don't know, picking flowers or some other shit. You know what I mean?
Harvesting wheat. Yeah.
I would rather instead have a way where we just had another UI to assign pals to specific tasks, and then that's all they did because I assigned them to that task, instead of them just running off and doing whatever they want. And there's no like level of prioritization, and I don't really like that. I'd rather just assign it, and if they're done doing that task, I don't want them to do anything else. I'd rather, because I'm going to come back to the base. It's not like I'm going to be gone for 5 hours. I'm going to come back to the base, and then I can go, oh, they're done doing that? Okay, now I'm going to set them to go do this instead.
Yeah, that would be nice to be able to prioritize the work functions. 100%.
Because I would much rather them just stand still and not do anything when their task is complete, rather than walk around and try to do other stuff, because that's usually when they get stuck.
Yeah. Cartwright in the chat says, I've not played Palworld and I'm not a huge fan of survival games, but I do love Valheim. Does Palworld compare to Valheim? I would say Enshrouded probably is closer to Valheim-ish. Palworld is a survival game, but it's not so much. It's not as like where Valheim, you're eating and you're drinking is to give you buffs more than anything. It's not because you're hungry or you're whatever. It's to buff you. Palworld, it's just for like the survival part of it. I hate survival games, and I love this game, so I'd give it a shot if I were you. Just check it out. It's a lot of fun. So,
yeah. So I think the really unique thing specifically about Palworld is just the fact that like it really appeals to a much larger audience than anything else does. That's why it's really it's unfortunate for Enshrouded to come out near the same time as this game.
It is so unfortunate
because Enshrouded's really good. It's a very good survival game, But also at the same time, the thing is that like this game appeals to not only the people that would probably play Enshrouded, but it also appeals to like everybody else at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So it's like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I play this game over Enshrouded right now? Because all my friends are playing this.
Yeah.
And plus on top of that, this game is more geared towards multiplayer, where I don't think Enshrouded really isn't geared the same way towards multiplayer.
No, it's not. I don't know. I played it. I'm not gonna get off Palworld. We'll talk about Enshrouded here in a second. Yeah, like I'm hoping that, like you said, they stick to this roadmap. The roadmap actually looks really, really nice. Honestly, it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I would say first, pathing issues and AI issues in general need to be fixed a little bit. There's just general performance placement, object placement in the world. There's bugs that you're getting a lot of the times with some of the enemies as well, where they're getting like stuck in walls and things like that. That kind of stuff needs to get fixed. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like, the PAL Force Alliance or whatever they are. Like I'll see those guys like stuck in a wall or something like that. Get rid of that kind of stuff. Get rid of like minor bugs and issues. Get the game
building. Oh my God, fix the building.
Building, I'm going to be honest, I actually think building for the most part needs a little bit of an overhaul. Not entirely. I do like the way that we interface with it. But the thing is that like our building in our base is like super restricted, and there's so many areas that have like objects that I can't remove, and because I can't remove them, then I just can't build over there. Like if there's like a half of a broken down wall laying on the ground, I can't build that in that area.
That's where a game like V Rising shined, because you can clear out everything off the deal and get your base map or the size of your area correct. That's another thing. There's another thing I don't like about Palworld's building on the base part of it is I feel like that circle is way too small for the amount of large. Like I'm level 43. And so I'm getting to a part where I'm having multiple grinded. Oh, dude. Like I've been.
How many bases do you have?
I can make 3, but I have 2. I have one I have one just for ore, and the other one is just everything. It's everything. There's like a big party central. But the circle's not large enough for the size of the equipment that's going into it. Once you start to get into more technologies with electrical, and it's just not large enough. And I'm going to have to completely demolish my whole first base. Find a new location to try to get the best out of that circle.
I think that's also the thing too that I realized with my first time playing the game is that I built in a bad place, and it made it really difficult for me to build anything else.
Yep, I did too.
And then also on top of that, the thing is like, have you realized that there's pathing issues when you try to build anything 2-story?
Yeah. I that's my base right now. Yeah.
So like
try to build a ladder. It's cool.
Well, it's not even the ladder thing. Like one of the issues that I run into is that like, let's say I have like incubators up on a top floor of my building. Well, like sometimes the pals will be like on the ground trying to light the fires on the second floor, and it's like, what are you fucking doing? Like they'll just get stuck and they'll get confused, and then nothing's happening or getting fixed. So, building overall needs general optimization, more options, and more freedom for the player to build how they want, and maybe even. Personally, I would actually like to see for them to be able to have it where we could probably transform the land a little bit. That might be a little bit of a too tall of an order for this studio, because obviously they don't have like a ton of experience, right? But yeah. What are you doing?
I'm moderating the Twitch channel. I'm sorry.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yeah. So it's one of those things. I think there's just general optimization the game needs, but outside of that, I think it's gonna be pretty good. Looking at the future roadmap for the game as well, the like PvP is gonna be sick. I realize that the direction the game wants to go in is they definitely want to push on the end of like Rust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to push on Rust, and I feel that because here actually I can actually fix that. Did you already fix it or no?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, thank you. So the thing is that they're really trying to push on like the Rust aspect of this game. They want it to be where you're raiding each other's bases. They want to make it where you have these 32 player worlds. Mark, you got your base set up over here. My base is on the whole other side of the map. I'm gonna sneak on your base, attack your base, steal some of your materials and go back to my base.
I've got security locks on all of my stuff, buddy.
Yeah, I know, but I can just destroy the chest.
No, you can't. Mine are refined, reinforced metal chest. So
I can put a penguin in a launcher.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. So I'm just gonna launch penguins at your base. So outside of that, yeah, I think that them leading into the multiplayer aspect is probably the smartest thing, because as you brought up earlier, like like you saw like the potential for this game to be almost like a Fortnite-esque level of popularity and longevity. Why exactly do you feel that way?
Mass appeal. The art style of this game is one of those art styles that just never gets old. You understand what I'm saying? It's just going to age really, really well for the game, just like Fortnite does. It ages well. Depending on the level, what they add mechanically and game loop wise for the game itself with PvP. Once PvP, I believe, comes full blown, this game's going to take another spike up. It's going to go one more spike up.
Yeah.
This developer works with Epic on their Unreal Engine and everything else. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have the same route that Epic I think it was super smart of them with Fortnite, where they have these different divisional of games within the main game itself. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they have the Lego Fortnite, they've got Fortnite, they've got, get their whole deal. And then I think this game could probably do the exact same thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Epic doesn't try to buy this studio, to be honest with you. I would be surprised. I would be surprised.
They'd probably just be trying to go. I don't think they'd be going for the studio. They probably just want the.
Because I can tell you right now, Epic's like fucking laughing to the bank right now, because you know how the Unreal Engine works is they get paid by how many
downloads, yeah,
how it sells. So they're probably happy. Like I said, I don't see how it couldn't, but I think this game could reach that level of hype. I do. I just do.
So, personally, man, I think that I can't see anybody valuing the actual studio, because you have to keep in mind the team that made this game have no experience making games. One of the guys that they got, I want to say the person that actually designed the shooting system,
the weapons animations,
gas station worker, right? Some dude they hired from a gas station. Most of the people that made this game learned on the job. So yeah, I can't imagine anybody wanting to buy the studio, but they want to buy the game. Yeah. I could see that. I could see something like, oh, hey, you want the IP? Yeah, sure. Here you go. You can buy it, and then give it to a studio that has, a little bit more clout and ability. 'Cause I guarantee there's people that are looking at this right now and going, oh, we could do way better. Like, there's so many things we could do to improve this game and make it the best version of itself so super fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Literally having teams to build for it would vastly help the game get fast. You know what I mean? Faster development wise.
Yeah.
But would it lose its charm? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you have to keep in mind that the team that made this game is based.
Yeah, they are.
Simple as
that. He just wanted to make a good game.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about if you think it's Pokemon. He doesn't care about it either. He just wanted to make a good game.
Nope. They put stuff in it. Like, I remember he specifically said in like one of his interviews, we want to put guns in the game because Americans like to shoot things.
Based.
Yeah. It's so good, right? Like, I mean, it's so smart. It's so fucking smart. And you have to keep, and there's a bunch of other factors that they put into the game as well, but just because they understood what audiences wanted. And I think that there is something to that if this game was in another studio's hands, it would probably it'd have its teeth removed.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to read a comment, and then we're both going to comment on it. Palworld getting bought by another company means that we would get microtransactions at the wazoo. False. Who's to say this game doesn't get so big staying at this studio, and they're like, well, we still want to make more money.
Oh, you guys have to keep in mind, we've had this discussion in the past. If I worked at that studio, if I was running that place, I'd be putting in an application. I'd be like, guys, look, I got a fucking plan.
You know that new grass type y'all talking about?
Woo!
$5.
I tell you what we're gonna do. For sure, we're gonna have skins, right? We gotta have skins, weapon skins, character skins, Maybe you want some accessories that you can attach to your pal to make them stand out against other people's pals and stuff like that. Oh yeah. Oh,
you know how the shinies. We're gonna one up that, but you have to buy it.
Yeah, I actually kind of hope I want them to kind of change the shinies. To be honest, I don't like the fact that they're just huge versions of themselves.
Yeah, well, they're huge versions, and they do have a higher they do have an alternate attack as well.
I know, but I would like to see there to be. I like something a little bit more visually distinguishable than them just being massive.
Sexy pal skins from Rin.
Yeah. I would really like to see them to have. I like the idea of having like different color palettes and stuff like that, because it shows off like how much more unique they are. You know what I mean? Not to say that them being huge isn't cool and unique, but you get what I mean.
Here's what's jacked up is I would be okay with them doing a Fortnite-esque battle pass. To be honest with you, the way that Fortnite works their battle pass, you literally can get through almost all of it without having to pay for anything.
But you wouldn't play a game like this through a battle pass. It just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
No,
you know what I mean. Not unless you have
right now. Now.
No, that still doesn't make any sense. You're talking about a world that's like persistent, right? A persistent game that you're playing rather than something that's bite-sized, potato chips. Well, you're like jumping in for a match, jumping in for another match, jumping in for another match. That's not how you play this game.
But I think that's what they're going to add with the arena.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not. Do you know anything about video games?
Nope, I've never even played one.
I know you haven't. Apparently,
I've never even played a video game.
The idea for Pal Arena is probably going to be a place for players to be able to pit their pals against somebody else in an arena within their world. It's not like
I get what you're saying.
Bro, now I'll say this: if they are out of their fucking mind, right? If they are crazy, I would totally start ripping off Pokemon mechanics. Have online battles.
Turn-based.
Take your pals to a machine, and then you can pit them against other players in their other worlds, because you could technically treat this world just like you would a normal Pokemon game, right? It's your own specific persistent world that you've been progressing. So yeah, technically you could. Well, yeah, why not? Fuck it. I would.
Yeah.
Take
exactly,
all
Bobby.
their shit.
What's a video game? What is a video game?
What is a game? So I would. I think that would be really cool. I think I'm probably thinking too much Ark and Rust, and they very well could be thinking both that and the actual Pokemon games and go, you know what? We could probably take that from them too. Why not?
Yeah, why not? we already stole all the characters. Why not?
Yeah.
No. Did you know that 2023 is the first time since 2008 that a game not named Call of Duty was the highest selling game of all time, or of the year? Sorry.
2023 is the first time
since 2008.
Since 2008 that a
game won the highest sales, or most sales, the sales record for the year that isn't named Call of Duty.
Hogwarts Legacy?
Hogwarts Legacy.
That's crazy, dude.
That's is crazy.
And imagine WB fumbling the bag that soon after. How stupid you gotta be. How fucking dumb are you? I swear, dude. Like, some of these companies, man, like, it's like they have CEOs that are in charge that have genuinely no idea what they're doing in the market that they're in. Because, like, the idea that you're going to go and have probably, arguably, one of the best years for your company in sales because you make a good single-player experience that didn't have microtransactions, really, and also didn't have, like, multiplayer at all, which is also a whole other thing. And it ended up being the highest-selling game of 2023 in a year that a new Call of Duty came out, Diablo IV came out, and then you also had the hit classic game, Baldur's Gate 3. You know what I mean? Like, you had all these games come out, and then all of a sudden you're going to go, you know what? We're going all live service from here on out. What?
Yeah. What? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't include Rockstar. Yeah, I'm sorry. Rockstar or Call of Duty.
Yeah, I'm genuinely confused by something like that. When you have a game that performs as well as you have, why in God's name would you choose to just go and just throw the bag away like that?
Okay, let's jump into Suicide Squad for a little tidbit. Okay, for just
we can talk
little
about
second.
We can talk about it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So this game,
I love talking shit about that game. By the way,
this game is already. I'm not going to say it's DOA, but there's so much bad press about this game already before it's launching. It's launching next week? I think it's next week. I think it's next week.
Yes.
So they refused to send out review codes to IGN, which is basically access journalism, right? Because they didn't like the preview things that were said, which what IGN said was pretty much the same thing said all the way across the field. I'm not protecting IGN. This is just a super bad look for a company to not give a major media, not that it's their it is their right to not give IGN a copy, but to me that says more to the consumer than it does about IGN. The consumer should be worried that IGN's not getting a copy because they didn't have the a shining preview for it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're sending their codes to people that they think is going to give them a favorable review, which is awful. It's such horseshit.
So I have an unpopular opinion. I think that IGN over the last few years has actually been getting better.
I do too.
Genuinely, their YouTube content has been getting better. And I'm not talking about better as just better produced. I mean, just in general, their opinions have been getting better. They've been actually having opinions rather than just puff piecing games and then, shilling them out so they can continue to get codes. I think IGN has very progressively started to get better and better with some of their opinions, and they've been a little bit more outspoken about things that they should. And it probably has to do a lot with the backlash that they got over the last few years, back with Cyberpunk 2077 and a couple other games as well. Yep. A lesson learned, more or less. But they genuinely have gotten better for the most part. I don't necessarily agree with all of their opinions. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that they've gotten a little bit more loose with the tongue, and they just kind of say what they feel about a game, and I think that that's good. I think that's something that they should
do. It's honest. They had a weird stint there where they were kind of competing with Kotaku on I wouldn't call it wokeism, but just that movement of thought in games, and they've kind of regressed back to just talking about video games and quit injecting their ideologies into their reviews. Which is a breath of fresh air, I think. And don't get me wrong, I don't go to IGN for my reviews. I use people like Skill Up and stuff like that for my reviews.
Yeah.
But like I said, anytime a game or anything tries to skip out a major media outlet from reviewing their game before it comes out is a red flag about that game. It just is. Regardless if you like IGN or not. It just is. Now their Metacritic score, I think, is going to be suspect. You have to put an asterisk on it because they're picking and choosing who gets their review copies, which all companies do anyway. But you still want to have a fairly rounded base. So everything about this just stinks to high heaven. It smells like bad fish to me. Yeah, it just does.
The thing is that really surprises me with this is that I've seen a lot of people say, so what? So what? Yeah. Boo IGN. Boo IGN. And it's just do you not realize what it means to have curated responses to a video game? And then you go and you look and it's they have a profile picture of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And it's you're just a sycophant. That's all it is. You're just somebody that's just, can't wait to, I hope they put a bunch of really cool skins in for Harley Quinn. Hopefully they'll at least show me a little bit of underboob. No, they won't, because the game doesn't have any fucking teeth. So you don't have to worry about that. If you looked at any of the artwork that they've done for it, don't worry, you're not going to get anything revealing. Especially when you watch a video where they talk about one of the reasons why you don't have the Joker as one of the main characters is because he's having a hard time just figuring out who he is right now. He's very conflicted. He's dealing with a lot of personal insecurities. That's exactly what they said. Joker is dealing with personal insecurities. So he's a different kind of Joker than you're used to. He's a Joker with anxiety.
I fucking.
I can't, dude. I can't. Like, I'm wondering if these people are sitting in these meetings where they're coming up with these pitches and they're actually hearing themselves, or if anybody is actually hearing themselves, like, or actually hearing what other people are saying. Or maybe they're all just like on their cell phone or something like that. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. Sure. Yeah, I think, yeah, that sounds fantastic. Oh my God.
It's so what's weird about the Suicide Squad is within the DC universe, the superheroes are generally bland, and the villains are actually the more complex characters.
Yeah.
Specifically Batman, right? Batman usually Batman has probably the most iconic and most I would say different-esque villains in DC universe. None of which have superpowers. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you've got King Shark. Yeah, he's got super strength, but now you're going to kill the Justice. I just have a problem with it in general. So you have
the general premise.
Just the general premise that they're going to go kill Superman. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, the general premise is pretty ridiculous, but yeah.
But they are adding the Joker on their season pass. They did announce that for free. You get the Joker as a playable character.
Oh, great.
They showed his face. They showed his face. He's a sad boy.
We know that.
He's a sad boy.
That. It's just, man, I don't know what to say. I definitely agree. I talked about it a little bit on stream yesterday, where just in general, like, you're looking at, how some of the other, some journalists are responding to this, where they're like, dude, this is just not what you guys want to see. And what does it tell you? What does it tell you about a game that they don't want people to put out their honest opinion on it?
Yeah.
What does that tell you about that game and the quality of that game when that game is released? Do you think it's going to be good? And it's so crazy to me, like, how much backlash that I got for the video that I made. By the way, I have no problem saying this game is dead on release. I absolutely think this game is going to be a complete flop. I think you're going to have some people that are going to enjoy it because they love DC Universe.
Well, there's people who loved Anthem. So, I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah. So, and I think you're going to have people that maybe like it for maybe the narrative, because I would imagine that the story writers are probably still halfway decent, right? But outside of that, I would say for the most part, no, because one of the biggest criticisms that Devin Laguerre had when he got to play the preview was that he doesn't see exactly how this game is going to survive as a live service, because it feels soulless in comparison to other games with a live service.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty scathing review. That's a tough thing to hear when all of your dice and all your eggs are in the live service basket. Like many of these companies keep trying to push so much, and that's probably the last thing they want people to know. Oh yeah, the live service part of it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense and probably isn't going to be all that fun.
It's like. So live service, the idea of live service is smart for game developers and publishers. It is, because you create an IP and you're able to maximize your revenue on it for a longer period of time. So it makes sense.
I'm getting water. Don't look at my butt.
Everyone look at his butt. Turn that. Oh, there it is. It's like, it makes sense. Like if I'm going to put in $250 million, say, we'll just throw that out to make a game, I want to try to get my return plus some, right? So live service makes sense. It makes sense. Where it fails is, just like Ian said, is if you don't have that loop, if you like the same problem Diablo IV is having right now, they keep doing seasonal events, and like this season right now, everybody hates it. Everybody hates the game loop. So if you can't create that to keep people coming in, like if you can't do what Fortnite does, or Apex Legends, or whatever, the game loop that can attract people to that IP, creating a game just to try to do the live service part and you don't have that part figured out is generally going to end up where you are with Suicide Squad, which is a dead on arrival game. It's just not going to be good. So
yeah, and that's kind of like the whole premise problem that I have with the game as well, is that it just doesn't really make a lot of sense in the context of the game. You know what I mean? You look at the game world and stuff like that. I'm not seeing it being like a You know, when you think about a game like this, especially if we're talking about a looter shooter, I'm expecting
Yeah.
dungeons, I'm expecting massive boss fights, I'm expecting all these different things that I'm not really seeing that's going on here. All I'm seeing is just endless chores. And that's one of the things that a lot of people brought up in their previews that they had talked about. And that was one of the things that specifically Devin Liguri brought up in his preview was he's like, it just, you know, when I look at a lot of the live service activities, it just feels like everything's chores. And a lot of players are tired of that shit.
Yeah.
You know
I mean,
what
that's why that's
am.
that's the main reason I didn't like survival games in the first place, because it feels like chores to me.
And,
you know what I mean?
and here's the thing. I'll be honest with you guys. I talk about live service quite frequently. I actually have no problem with games being live service as long as they're good and they're done well. But the problem is that so many companies today want to make a live service game and have no fucking idea what they're doing. And they're ruining some of the best IPs that we have, some of the best studios we have, by trying to chase the dollar rather than trying to put out a quality product that players are going to enjoy and increase their overall goodwill and the way that we view their products, and probably make us, you know, want to continue to buy things from them in the future. So it hurts us, but we're also watching them, destroy themselves at the same time. And we don't necessarily want to see that, because many of these companies have made games that we've loved in the past, but we're just watching them constantly shoot themselves in the foot and drag the industry down, kicking and screaming and trying to charge us more money for every game that they put out. And it blows my mind, dude. And, you know, I'm fine with a game that wants to be live service as long as it's put together well. I think OG Destiny was put together well, and then obviously got worse as years went on because they got more greedy and they just continued to absolutely just destroy what the game was.
Yeah, 100%. Bobby Hawk says that you were caked up, but not the kind of cakes you think. Pancakes.
I actually have cake in the fridge. I'm looking really forward to eating that after stream.
No, like, and that's the problem. I get it. Like, it makes sense to do it because you're gonna get a longer return of investment. But if you don't have a plan, you're not going to succeed. You're just not going to. And just like you said, I don't think the companies that are putting these games out have a good plan. They just don't.
No, they don't. They don't. And I think the thing is that, like we talked about, like Mr. brings it up in chat, talking about one of the videos I made last week was, how Sega is charging $15 for New Game Plus.
That's gross. That is so gross.
It's so disgusting. But the thing is that, like, you have so many companies that are out there that are doing their damnedest to ruin the quality of their product in the face of hopefully being able to make a couple dollars extra. But the thing is like, it's not sustainable.
It's not
sustainable. I genuinely, guys, I'm not like this is not a gamers rise up moment, nor a gamers rise up channel. But the only thing that I have to say is at one point, they're going to cross into a line where a lot of these studios are going to start to fail because they're going to get too greedy. They're going to push for too long, and they're going to at one point push too hard.
Yep.
And it's going to cause most of the industry to recoil and many of us to go and look for other areas for entertainment or for games.
Yeah. And we're going to see a lot more layoffs. That's what it's going to be.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, if you don't succeed, you don't have a job. That's just how it works.
They're going to forcibly make it where many of these studios are going to have to make games on smaller scales because they're just not going to have enough people to do it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them believe that they're going to be able to use AI to cross that gap, but that's not how that shit works. I think they have a fundamental misunderstanding of what that technology can actually do and how that tool can be used.
Well, at least the consumer version, yes. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know what Elon Musk is working on. You know what I mean? I don't know what, I say Elon Musk, the Elon Musk of the world are working on with AI. I just know what I see as a consumer for the consumer level AI is not. It's not where it's at.
We're gonna see 2K push $80 to $100 games with GTA. Yeah, I would imagine that.
GTA is going to be $100. The base standard edition is going to be $100, and the deluxe edition will be $150. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah. And the thing is that, again, this is something I brought up in one of my videos. Though I understand that these games are getting more expensive to make. That you have to pay. With inflation, you have to pay your workers more money, and the price of games has relatively stayed the same for many years. I like the prices of games are gonna go up at one point. I think that's just gonna be kind of unavoidable. They've already jumped to $10. I think that was just them testing the waters, to be honest.
Yep. I was listening to Risket's podcast on Friday night while I was playing Palworld, and they had a guest on there. I'm not sure what their name is, but they had an interesting thought of why do they keep moving people to California to work at these dev studios, because that's where a lot of them are, right?
Yeah.
And then the cost of living is so much higher, they have to pay the wages higher, all that stuff. They could save cost by letting them work in building studios in Austin, Texas, or Wyoming, or wherever.
God.
Right?
Can you imagine how cheap it'd be to make games in Wyoming?
But the thing is I've lived in Wyoming, and nobody wants to live in Wyoming. So
I mean, yeah, you want to have your business in an area that's really attractive, right?
You do.
Because you want to be able to attract workers. You're also looking for a certain class of people to work at your company because you want higher education. Higher education isn't going to be as valued in a place like Wyoming.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Because Wyoming's more about farming than it is anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like I don't think the solution is the cost of living. You understand? The gaming industry has made more money than it ever has in its history.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, it's just asking for more and more and more. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that not to rant on this, but again, I'm harkening back to something I've said in a video. I'll give you an unrealistic expectation. You have to sell 40 million copies of a game that has a story that is so sanitized that it won't offend anybody. You need to also make sure that you're going to put all of your focus on everything other than the gameplay and how the game feels to play and how enjoyable that game is. You need to staple on another $250 million on a marketing budget, throw in a live service, and then hope that the game is going to sell all of those copies. They're the ones that are setting these unrealistic standards for themselves, and they are ultimately the reason why they have to do these layoffs, why games have to be more expensive than they are, why they need microtransactions, why they need any of this shit. And it's mostly because of the fact that they're just not running their companies well, and they're not setting realistic standards for the releases that they're trying to make. They're not setting their egos aside to make games that players actually want to play, so they're limiting the audience that they're selling it to. Then at the same time, they're making the games so expensive that they're pricing themselves out of an entire audience that they otherwise would have been able to capture, but can't because the games are becoming too expensive for them to do so. Therefore, you have players that are not able to buy day one, which doesn't help to surge your sales, which doesn't help to surge its popularity. And then at the end of the day, those players may have bought more things from you in the future, but because they're less likely to be loyal to your game because they can't buy it day one, chances are they get distracted by somebody else that puts out a better product or a better experience for a cheaper price. Now you've lost that customer entirely. While that's happening at a much slower rate than they're probably seeing, it's going to continually happen faster and faster and faster as we move forward, because these companies just can't help but try to dig harder, deeper, faster, and it's just getting worse. It's getting worse across the board. Like when it's at the point that we're seeing microtransactions, cosmetic microtransactions in fucking single player games. When we're seeing Sega of all studios come out and say, we're going to charge you guys $15 for New Game Plus. That's not Activision. That's not EA. That's not Ubisoft. No, it's fucking Sega. When you're seeing companies like that step forward and start to make these scummy moves, you're in trouble, and things are going to get worse. And the thing is that if I go through the list of games that I purchased over the last year, right? Diablo IV was the only bad purchase I made, and it was the last one I made because it was the last lesson that I needed to learn. After that, every game that I've purchased has been damn worth my money because I've gotten more than enough time out of it. And many of those games, by the way, I didn't buy day one. These are games that have been out for years. I've just been going back and buying games that I just didn't get at the time, because I don't see any reason for me to have to jump on the hype train of buying many of these games, the first day they come out, except for the ones that I know and have. You
have to do content about. Yeah.
It's not the content thing. It actually has nothing to do with that. It's the games that I have unwavering faith in because I have done so much research and tried to make sure absolutely without a doubt that this game is going to be good. And there are very few companies that I have that trust in. And right now, Capcom is one of them. I know what the DRM stuff and things like that, but I think we as consumers kind of balance out, things that we want to fight for and things that we don't want to fight for. I'm not a fan, but I'm also not a modder. So,
well, okay, so I'm not going to get too off topic, but with like what you just said with the DRM, and this goes to the Ubisoft conversation we had last week, where Ubisoft says you need to get comfortable of not owning your games. Okay, if you've been on PC for any amount of time, more than likely you don't own you really don't own those games. Anything that's online that you have to register into the servers to play, you don't own that game either. You might think you do, but you don't. You don't own that game.
Yeah. Everybody knows that.
And that's been going on for years. And so this is going to kind of carry over into the Microsoft ABK deal. If you want to go ahead and we can start transitioning over into that. Because a lot of don't get me wrong, I went through and I looked and I pulled tweets and quotes from the people who were affected in this job. I mean,
yeah.
Let's see. A lot of them. One of the ones for Microsoft was their physical release team.
Yeah, they're going to cut out physical. Yeah, what's the best way to get people on Game Pass? Stop. But what people don't want to understand is Walmart, Target, all those kind of retail stores have already started cutting back on buying physical copies. Yep. See, the way a store works is they buy the copy from Microsoft or Sony, and then they put it in their store, and then they sell it. That's how it works, right? Yeah.
And so they've stopped buying those because people have stopped buying them. I think last year in the UK, because the UK still was like, the UK is the only place that actually puts out these type of numbers, the actual numbers. But 80% of all games bought in the UK last year were digital. Like, it's like physical media is dying. So I'm not excusing Microsoft for, whatever, but that layoff, it makes sense. Like it's one of those things that just makes sense. But we're going to end up going into a little bit more into it. But to your point of trying to make these live service games and games continuing to fail is going to end up having more of this. They're going to end up having more layoffs like this. It's just going to happen. Last year, I think 10,000 people total were laid off in the gaming industry. Just in January, it's been 6,000 people, 2,000 of them being from Microsoft ABK, the rest of them being from Embracer, Riot Games, stuff like that. And it's going to continue to happen as these games fail. It's just like the way the capitalism works is it's always hungry. You always have to make more money the next year. You always have to be at least a 3% increase. Always have to.
Well, it's mostly because in a lot of cases these companies are living off of the green line. They're living off of the peak. So if my peak is up here, like, well, this is where our spending and this is where our investment and this is where, we're not planning on the dip. We don't think that it's going to come back down. We need it to continue to come up. They're not planning for the dip because they don't think it's going to dive as hard as it can. And in a lot of cases, that's what ends up happening.
Well, so you don't plan like that because your shareholders, investors will not buy your stock if you're going to project a dip.
Correct. No, they won't. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to throw this up real quick because I think it adds a lot of context to the discussion that we're about to have.
Blizzard's influence is everywhere, and because of its enduring legacy,
sorry, every time I see Phil, it makes me laugh.
Revolutionary development with a care and a craft that is incredibly rare in this industry.
And if you're over on Twitch chatting, I'm not ignoring you. I promise you. I just don't like to type on. Well, I like to type while we're chatting, but you can hear it and it irritates them.
We will nurture the essence of what has made Blizzard unique.
I mean, it is a factual statement. So
we will nurture the essence of what makes Blizzard unique. We love to welcome the Blizzard. We love to welcome the Blizzard team to Xbox. Man, did they welcome them, huh?
Well, I mean, they showed them where the exit was.
Yeah, they sure did. Hey,
welcome.
God. Thank you. You're here.
Exit stage left. All right, cool.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people. They're like, I can't believe. Like, there's a lot of backlash on Phil Spencer because they're like, man, you promised, all these things that you promised with Activision Blizzard, all these positive things you come out, and of course, man, because you have to think about it. Like, at the end of the day, he's gonna come out, he's gonna toe his corporate line. I said this so many times in the past, dude. I've said this so many times in the past. And so many gamers want to think like, well, Phil Spencer's my friend, and I'm like, no, he's fucking not. Well, Phil Spencer likes vampire survivors.
He's a good guy.
No, he's a company man that works at Microsoft and has worked for Microsoft almost his entire career. This man is just as ruthless as anybody else in that company. And at the end of the day, when they came in, and I guarantee you, they walked into Blizzard and said, holy shit, what did we buy?
There is so many, there's so many, me and Ian, we're never going to pretend to y'all that we know every in and out of the gaming industry. Okay.
Oh, I'm a fucking gamer, dude. I sit at home, play video games, and make YouTube videos about overly opinionated things that I probably shouldn't actually talk about.
Yeah. But the problem with this topic is if you looked at different podcasts or different YouTube content creators, they're all going to have the same type of take on it. Where me and Ian are going to be a little bit different on it because me and him have worked in larger scale industries. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't look at it because people are looking at it as just as gamers and not as an industry. How industry works in itself. Right. But yeah. I'm not going to pretend like I know all the ins and outs of what Microsoft, who they laid off and all that stuff. That's why I wanted to go through and see from the people themselves that got laid off what they were doing. You know what I mean? Like, I can sit there and assume, oh yeah, they cut all these people, they cut this studio, and it boils down to, for redundancies, they may have laid off they laid off the QA people because they can outsource that for cheaper.
Yeah,
they laid off accountants, they laid off, all these little tidbits that they don't need. And you're like, well, that's, 1,900 people of 22,000 people. I'm not saying that the layoff was good. I'm just saying that it's not like they went through and just gutted these studios, gutted them. I didn't say what they did was good. I'm just telling you, they just didn't, besides Blizzard. I'm talking about the Activision side.
Oh, okay. No, the Activision side was mostly redundant roles outside of, I think, Sledgehammer, but Sledgehammer also had plans on reducing some of their headcount to begin with. Bob's Toys with Bob.
Yeah, Toys with Bob. A lot of it was Warzone related as well with Raven Studios.
Yeah. So the thing is that they have a lot of redundant roles that they were getting rid of. Now on the Blizzard side, they just straight up gutted some of the teams.
Yeah,
they looked at Overwatch and they said, nope. What? You know what the funny thing is? I saw one of the roles that did not make any sense to me, and I would love somebody in chat, if you're a fan of Overwatch, try to make sense of this for me. They got rid of the main narrative designer. What fucking narrative? You got rid of the single player that you were planning on doing. That's gone and out the window. Why is that guy still there, or why does that role still exist? There's no role to have. What he's the narrative designer. He's making the backstory for the fucking website that shows you who that character is. Yeah, there's some roles for sure that were still there that had no necessity being there, especially if you're looking at Overwatch, because they have, again, I love using this term today, they have fumbled the bag when it comes to Overwatch, because all they have actively done is disappoint their audience and lie to them, and then gaslight them, and then charge them more money.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not surprised that they went in on the Overwatch team. I'm not surprised at all they went in on the Diablo team, because they hit them too.
Yeah.
They hit the Diablo team hard. They hit the Overwatch team hard, and then they took out, I think,
Odyssey.
Pretty much everybody that was working on the open world survival game.
Okay, so let's throw this out there. Phil Spencer released Redfall. Okay, he released Redfall, and they went in and cut this game. So what shape was that game in? Just think of it that way.
None.
Probably not a good state.
So the crazy backstory that they have with the with that game is that I think like halfway through its development or through its prototyping, it was all being done in Unreal, and then internally the Blizzard board wanted to make the decision for them to use a completely different engine because they wanted to use an in-house engine that would allow them to be able to have like 100 and some odd players on a map at one time, which ended up actually being a mobile game engine, which obviously didn't work out very well for them. And as a result, they were having a lot of issues. The game was marred and muck and stuck, and it couldn't get anywhere else. It couldn't go anywhere. They were basically spinning their wheels. And as a result, when Xbox came in and said, "You guys have been spending 6 years on this, get out."
Yeah.
Get out. This project is canceled. You guys are done. Get out. Because I guarantee there's certain things that Xbox had no idea what the condition of some of the projects were before they made the purchase. Like there's some mystery, right? There's some things that Xbox probably not allowed to know before making a purchase.
Yeah.
I guarantee that might have been one of the things where they walked in and they said, "Holy shit, no, you guys can't be here. This has to stop." And they kicked him out. And they said, "It is what it is, man. We have to downsize." And then they said that they're working on some other smaller projects or something like that Blizzard's been working on.
Yep.
To be honest, if I was Microsoft and I came into Blizzard and I said, "These are the things that we need to work on," I would honestly look at the areas that they have right now. And by the way, I'm not a CEO. I mean, I have, experience in like project management and stuff like that, but that's about as far as it goes. But if I looked at the assets that Blizzard has and what would probably have the highest level of return for me, I would say Overwatch should get gutted. Throw it on maintenance mode, unless you're going to go all in on it.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to go all in, unless you're going to resurrect the single player mode and you're going to do that stuff. Like that's the only choice that you have, because I don't think it appeals to the size of the audience that it used to. It's not nearly like games like Valorant and things like that have already overtaken it, considerably. I wonder how many people are even streaming it on Twitch. That's actually a really good question. I'm going to check that right now. I would look at Diablo IV, and actually I have a recovery plan for Diablo IV.
That's a video.
It is a video that I will end up doing.
Yeah. So before I speak, they haven't announced a successor for Ybarra yet, correct?
No.
That means Ybarra quit. That means he wasn't fired.
Guys.
If he was fired, they would have said who's replacing him.
Guys,
he quit.
Should I put in my application?
Do it.
Asmongold needs to put in his. He's already the CEO of a couple of his own companies. He's already owned a few companies. He already owns a gaming company. Why not, man? Throw in an app. See if you can take the reins.
Go fix that shit.
The one true king returns.
Like, I saw a lot of WoW fans were saying that they would like Metzen to take it over, Blizzard.
What does he have? What knowledge would he have other than narrative?
Other than WoW, yeah, I don't know. So that's why I don't think he was fired. I know Adam, the co-founder of Blizzard, one of the co-founders of Blizzard, he was let go. He didn't quit. He was asked to leave. But where Ybarra, like everyone's like, he got fired. Even I was initially when I saw it, he got fired. But then the more I think about it, the more I look at it, he quit. He straight up just quit.
Dark Hollow's right. Metzen also created all the Diablo universes as well.
Yeah. So
he's not just Warcraft. He's Diablo as well. So I mean, he does have his hands in a lot of that stuff. So I mean, maybe Metzen's a good fit, but the thing is that like just because the guy's been a great narrative, somebody to push the narrative of the games, doesn't mean he knows how to run an entire video game company.
No,
like there's a huge gap between how to manage massive projects and how to make sure that you have the right people in right positions and that those projects are meeting their deadlines the way that they should, that the games are progressing the way that they should, the mechanics are being included properly. Being able to have this massive oversight is a whole other thing, man. And I think largely in a lot of cases, one of the reasons why many studios fail is because they have the wrong people in the wrong position,
wrong spots. Yeah. So where I think Microsoft would be at fault here is, and this isn't like completely unheard of, but they announced the day before that they were going to do the layoffs, right? So it like that's not a like I understand it.
I'm
because
listening. Right back.
I understand it because you want to let the people in the company know what's going on, like just having like an open door type of just just being clear. But what that ended up doing was leaving a lot of people to find out that this stuff was happening through social media apps. You know what I mean? Could you imagine being at home after work and then you see a tweet that Microsoft's laying off 1,900 ABK employees, and then you have to go to work on Friday? I mean, that's crazy. But what that ended up having, this is one of the weird things that happened from it, is people were calling Jason Schreier and asking him if he knew that if they were getting laid off. They asked a journalist outside of their company. They called him and asked him if he knew that they were getting laid off. That's crazy, super crazy. But I imagine that day at work sucked, dude. I imagine that sucks so bad, just to be sitting there and just waiting to get that email, or your manager come to your by your desk, say, hey, grab your stuff, let's go talk. You know what I mean? Like, terrible.
I would imagine for a lot of those people, specifically, one of the biggest issues was the fact that they probably just didn't want to go to work. Keep in mind, this is California, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, you're gonna have people that genuinely just don't have to deal with traffic. This guy figured it out, so maybe if I just if I can just ask this journalist real quick and he can tell me if I gotta go to work tomorrow or not. It is a little weird though that they wouldn't just get a hold of their management and be like, hey, I'm seeing this pop up on the news, like what's going on? Yeah, what's going, like, do I have a job? Am I supposed to come to work tomorrow? Yeah. So it's one of those things where I hope that this is an area where Blizzard improves, but at the same time, I'm going to be transparent. I have absolutely no faith in Xbox. I have none. It's gone. My faith in that company is dead and buried. Just about the same with Blizzard, to be honest, at this point. Because I asked chat before in one of the live streams I did this week, can we point to a series, to a franchise that after acquisition, outside of, I think, maybe Psychonauts, outside of acquisition, that has gotten better since being under Xbox's reign? What company has Blizzard purchased and has made nothing but better products as a result of their purchase? Has Bethesda? No. Has Obsidian? I mean, Outer Worlds came out, but that was something I think they were working on before they were acquired. Grounded was good, right? But it wasn't necessarily what people were expecting from Obsidian. We're going to end up seeing what the result of all their work has been under Xbox when Avowed comes out, right? We'll see how Avowed does. Pentiment was actually pretty good too. I largely think like they got kind of lucky with Obsidian, because Obsidian's like pretty good about managing themselves.
They're solid.
Yeah. But you look at Lion's Head Studio. What did they do with Lion's Head? Like they made Fable, and then they purchased them, and then they made Fable 2, and then after that it was all downhill, right? It just ended up because they kept trying to get them to make Kinect games. Jesus Christ, what a mistake that was. And then eventually they just tore apart the studio entirely and got rid of it. They did create the coalition, but that wasn't through a purchase. That was just a team that they already had there, right?
Yeah.
You look at the franchises that they have under them, like, and this is the one thing that blows my mind, is looking at Halo specifically. How do you fuck up a character that's so iconic, a franchise that is so iconic to today's gamers? Largely, many of the people that got started on first-person shooters are people that got in from Halo, because Halo 2 was the reason we got into playing multiplayer first-person shooters to begin with. The layout for controller controls for first-person shooters came from Halo. So it blows my mind that you take a character that is arguably just as iconic as Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog or Link, Zelda. What's Sony's most iconic?
It used to be Crash Bandicoot, but
Sonic or not Spider-Man.
yeah, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, I guess. But
Kratos. There you go, Kratos.
Kratos. Oh yeah, Kratos is a good one. Yeah. So you know, could you imagine messing up such an iconic character, such an iconic franchise, and you know, if they can't manage their own studios, why should we have any faith that they're going to be able to make Blizzard a better company than what it is?
Yeah. I believe the only thing that we had said was that Microsoft would help clean up the ethical part of it. You know, the working with teams and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, as in managing it, I have no faith either. I just don't. There's a handful of studios in Microsoft's stable that I like. Obsidian, they're one of my favorite studios, and the Coalition. Yeah. That's it. Those are the only two that I have any faith in of anything coming out. Great. We'll see. You know what I mean?
I'm not trying to be like a doomer about it.
You are a doomer.
I am a doomer about it because like the thing is that like I just really haven't seen a lot of good things come from Xbox since the 360 era.
I was waiting for that music to kick in and you start kicking stuff off.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things. I really haven't seen a whole lot of great things come from them since the Xbox 360 era.
No,
you know, largely the only studio that's really been doing well for them is I guess two would be I guess three. So you say Obsidian, the guys that are working on Forza, and
the Coalition.
Yeah,
that's it.
But here's the thing. Personally, like, even though there are people like, man, I want to see, like, when are they going to announce a Gears 6? Do you think that a Gears of War game still speaks to to audiences the same way that those games used to?
No, that demographic is my demographic. It's aged. You see this? Look,
yeah,
we're aged. To get like newer, younger gamers in there, they're gonna have to, and this is why they're trying to force live service so much, is because they're trying to duplicate a Fortnite, right? Kids love to play Fortnite. They love it. They love that game, and they're trying to appeal to that crowd. Even the Minecraft crowd is aged.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, what, you know, they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. But like I said, I think they have enough people and enough money, so to speak, to make it work. But like, do they have the talent upstairs to make it work? And I don't think they do. I just don't.
Yeah, I just don't think the direction's there. I just don't. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really sad to see what happens with Blizzard, or what's happened with Blizzard and what's going on with them. But at the same time, I mean, like, could you expect anything less?
Yeah, no.
Could you expect anything less? I don't think I could. I really don't. And the thing is that I don't necessarily really have a lot of faith that the people that are there still can really turn the ship around. And this is something that I brought up specifically with Diablo IV. Look at their plan of attack for improving the game and getting the game to a great place in which it actually speaks to the live service audience that the game should have been made for in the first place. There's two issues there. Issue number one with Diablo IV is that they don't know who their audience is. The problem is that you're trying to make a game for casual players, but in essence, players that play ARPGs,
they're not casual.
They're not casual players. That's not a casual player audience. It just isn't. And the thing is, the most vocal people that are going to be talking about your game are definitely not casual players. They're Blizzard fanboys. They're people that are desperate for Diablo to be a good game because they want it to be one. Your Diablo dads are not the ones that are on Twitter or on Reddit that are giving the feedback to Blizzard, letting them know where the areas of issue are. That's not who's asking for these changes. The people that are asking for the changes are, in fact, the hardcore audience that you're not trying to make the game for. That's the reason why we see this weird dissonance between, you know, the things that they want to change, but then also at the exact same time, the content that actually gets released for the game. You look at some of the seasons that they've had, and the mechanics for the seasons are boring. They're just not interesting. I talked about it before, and I know you've done the same thing where I've hopped in to give it a shot to see what's going on with the game, just to see if I could, you know, just get a little bit of information, update my experience with the game so I can be a little bit more educated when I talk about it. However, I can only get through a few hours of gameplay before I'm like, dude, this is I'm bored to tears. This is just not good. And you look at their schedule and how they plan to improve the game, and it's very incremental. It's step by step. You know, today it's WSAD movement. The next patch is going to be itemization, and then we're going to do this. And it's like, these are months apart from each other. The problem is that by the time this game is going to get to an enjoyable state, God forbid, just a playable, I guess you'd even say for many people, it'd be just a playable state, to get it to an enjoyable place, it's going to be by the time that the fucking expansion comes out. And by then, is your game even really that relevant for people to really be that interested in purchasing anymore? I'll be really interested to see how the expansion sells. I think the expansion will probably still do fine because the name sells itself for the most part. But what's the from a business perspective, if I am Phil Spencer and this company is under my wing, and I see that your live service is underperforming, and you have all of these people that are actively working on the development of this game, however, the only thing we're able to pull off is just the box price sell, right? Then what is the point of us continuing to continue to support this team when the live service that we're putting all this focus on and all this effort into isn't giving us anything back? Because people aren't interested in playing the seasons. They don't want to buy the battle passes. They don't want to buy the skins because the skins look stupid and ugly, and most of them, you know, for the female characters, if people want to make them look like strippers, they can't, because, you know, we got to be real safe around these parts. We got to make sure this is as sanitized as possible. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's okay with us having these shirtless men with massive muscles and stuff like that. It's so fucking contradictory. It pisses me off.
And that's what and to your point, that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to add to more layoffs, is when these live service games, they don't make it, they're going to cut the live service part of those teams and then move the rest of the team onto this next project, because that's where their next paycheck's going to come from. You know what I mean? So if they're not making the money to sustain the people they're on, and don't get me wrong, a lot of these companies, like let's say Microsoft probably for the let's just say Diablo IV, for their seasonal team that works on the seasons, probably only need, I'm just gonna say rough, $1 million a month to cover salaries. Okay, let's just say it's $1 million a month. Does Microsoft have the money to spend there? Yep, they do. Do they want to? No, they don't. No. So if that they have to make at least $1 million off of their live service part of it a month for them to pay for their job. But here's what happens: is Microsoft says, no, you need to make $10 million a month off the live service to keep your job.
Yeah. Even
though it only takes $1 million to pay your salaries.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it works. A lot of people are pissed off about these layoffs because right after the layoffs, the stock market did this. It went boop, boop, like that. And Microsoft, after the layoffs, became the second company in history to be a $3 trillion market valuation.
Yeah, gaming's massive. I don't think people really understand just how big gaming is right now. It's already overtaken both movies, television, and music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like,
it is the premier type of entertainment. So it's really funny. You know, I'm actually going to bring this up. So I saw this conversation the other day where people were like, "Oh, well, you know, like, oh, I have a lot of problems in life, but gaming isn't one of them. I'm not really big on, you know, issues in gaming or trying to, you know, change the way that I purchase things." And I'm not saying that people need to. However, you know, if you're going to act passionate about it online, if you find these topics interesting and you say, I want games to be better, then have some ownership, self-reflect, have some self-control, and don't fucking purchase these games. Because what you're not realizing, and what many people don't realize, is that, you know, outside of it just being an entertainment, a way for us to enjoy something, one of the things that makes me upset is the fact that people don't realize that this is one of the biggest and most profitable industries in the entire world right now. So yes, us being interested and being involved and making, you know, informed decisions and talking about these things with other people that also enjoy playing video games is a big deal, because it's a market that we need to influence the best we can, because in the future it's just going to be a market in which it's going to consume all other forms of media. It's going to be the way that most people engage with many things. I mean, you could see a freaking, cyberpunk future in which, games and movies become something that's almost, hand in hand.
Yep.
Interactive movies become the way that we go to see movies. We don't watch normal movies. Oh my God, could you imagine just sitting there and doing nothing but just watching the screen?
And that's what Remedy's been trying to do for years as developers is mix those two mediums together.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where, and that's innovative. That's the reason why some other games do so well in the first place. But my thing is that like people don't realize like just how influential this industry is. They act like it's a small thing, but right now, gaming money is running the world.
Yeah, I mean, look at just look at your successful streamers. They're making money off other people's products.
Yeah,
they're literally not adding anything except for entertainment value to the gaming industry. And they're like, that's how industry works. It's like a trickle down effect. It's going to create more opportunities and jobs all the way down, starting at the devs or the publishers all the way down. So this industry it's blowing up, and the devs and publishers and CEOs and all those people, the shareholders, they want their piece of meat. They want their part. And so like you don't get to be a $3 trillion company by keeping people employed that you don't need to have there. Have you ever been at work, Ian, and been sitting there working and been like, look over at your coworker and like, how the fuck do you even have a job?
Yeah, that was me actually. Everybody was looking at me that way.
So they're looking at Ian like, hey, how the fuck do you have a job?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, everyone's got those people at work that do the bare minimum, and gaming devs are probably not anywhere. I'm not like excusing the layoffs. I'm just saying, and gaming devs aren't going to be unique to this situation to where they have people there that are doing the exact bare minimum to get through their day just to go home.
Yeah. Hume brings over up on Twitch. He says, but our marginal impact is so tiny, so much so that I'm really not willing to take a principled stance against a gaming company because it's not going to notice me on a minor level. Yeah. And here's the thing. Again, you don't have to take a principled stance. You don't have to follow your morals on these things. If you want to just enjoy something. If there's a game you want to play, just play the game. However, the more people that do end up taking that principled stance when it comes to this stuff, even though we say something like it's marginal, these companies fucking live in the margins.
Yeah.
They live in the margins. As ridiculous as it may sound, one of the reasons why I love talking about these kind of things, and one of the reasons why I usually want to have these conversations surrounding the industry, mainly not only in my videos, but also in the streams and stuff like that, is specifically because if I can even influence even a small portion of my audience to make more informed purchasing decisions in the future, to make them aware of things that are going on in the industry so that they can be informed before they make a purchase, right? Then even that small bit of influence could affect, let's say, if I have 30,000 subscribers, if there's 10,000 people that are like, yeah, I'm not buying that fucking game, that's 10,000 sales that they didn't get. And while in the larger scope of selling, 20 million copies of a game, that may not sound like a lot. We don't know. Maybe there's a really good chance that they do see that dip and they're like, well, fuck, dude. Keep in mind too that especially with like a lot of the content and the videos and stuff like that I do, it's not just you guys watching it. These companies are watching it.
Yep.
I know it for a fact. Larian Studios has reached out to me a few times. Hey, thanks for the video. They've watched my stuff.
Yep.
So it's not that Blizzard and all these other companies, they're all watching. They're seeing the conversation. They're seeing which way customer sentiment moves. And if there's enough movement, then things change a little bit. And we've seen things like that change in the past. Loot boxes is a really good example of that. We don't really see loot boxes as much anymore.
Nope. It had its time in the sun until people finally made a stand against it.
Yeah, until people were like, no, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Not saying that loot boxes are gone completely. There's some games that still have it, but we don't really see a lot of newly released games have loot boxes in them.
Chat, I'm sorry I lied to you. I said 80% of game sales in the UK were digital. It was 90%. And that was in 2022.
Yeah.
So it's over. No, it's sad. I feel bad for everyone who loses their job. I do. I know the job market sucks. I imagine 2,000 people being dumped into the same industry at the same time looking for jobs is even going to make it even more harder, especially for the people coming out of. Imagine you're about to graduate college,
and all you're seeing is layoffs in the industry.
And all you're seeing is layoffs in the industry that you're trying to go into.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too when you think about it is like this shit's gone on for a while. We've had so many layoffs across the entire industry. I would imagine most of these people are probably going to try to find jobs at smaller studios more than anything else, right? Yeah. But with that said, the funny thing is I'll see some people pop up and they're like, "Oh, we'll just start an indie," and it's like, in this economy?
Yeah, right.
In this economy, motherfucker, what?
Yeah. Oh, I saw one that said that indie needs to have the balls to go up against AAA, and I don't like indie isn't competing against AAA. It's trying to find its own space within the industry. Like indie games, and yeah, I'm completely serious. Indie games are generally set to be like a smaller, like Baldur's Gate 3 is the exception, not the rule, right? That's basically, so indie games are generally smaller sliced experiences. The indie games are more passion projects than AAA games are. So like I said, they're not going to sit there and just go up against like AAA. I don't know. I don't understand what go up against AAA means. I guess
I wonder what the money statistics are with how much the indie side of gaming has captured revenue wise versus AAA over the last couple of years. Because the funny thing is that like indie doesn't need to go against AAA. They don't need to like go, oh, well, we need to make a game that competes with Diablo IV, even though they do though. That's the funny thing. You may not think that they are, but they are, because yes, indie developers are making games that are going to compete against them. Last Epoch, which is going to release very soon here, competes against Diablo IV and Path of Exile. The survival games that have been coming out, largely the whole survival genre is dominated by indie. What AAA studio has a survival game? That's
not Blizzard.
No, but think about that. Many, like the most popular survival games are not made by AAA studios. They're all made by indie developers or single or double. I think
the last one would be Grounded by Obsidian. To be honest with you.
Yeah. So the thing is that if you look across the industry, for the most part, in the areas in which indie is competing, in the areas, the genres that they're working in, they are dominating in those areas, and AAA doesn't stand a fucking chance.
No, they don't. And the beautiful thing about indie is they can take more chances. They can take more risk when they put out an idea than AAA can. AAA just can't. Those developers aren't allowed to paint outside the box. Indie developers are. Yeah, they're allowed. Yeah. They're allowed to color outside the lines.
They're allowed to make it. They're allowed to make a game that has slavery and guns and Pokemon.
Stolen assets and
exactly. They're allowed to do that kind of stuff because they're not. I think people forget. The problem is that there's so much riding on the line for every single AAA release. Largely, again, I'm going back to what I said before, and it's because of self-inflicted wounds that these AAA companies have on themselves. They overinvest into these games. They go with these massive marketing budgets. I mean, if you knew how much money these guys spend, we saw the leaks back with the Xbox acquisition where Sony had spent $250 million on Horizon Zero Dawn just for its fucking marketing budget.
Yeah.
Just marketing the game. We're not talking about developing it. No, we're talking about commercials and all of that shit. All of that only to be wasted because they released it like at the same time as fucking Elden Ring or something like that. Like, the fuck? And it's like you spent $250,000 or $1 million on a marketing budget for a team that couldn't figure out that there was a game that was going to come out to outshine them. Are you out of your fucking mind? No wonder these people are losing their jobs in some of these places. Holy shit. But
like people are people. It's like I was saying this. People are people. You've got people that aren't paying attention to what they're doing at their job, and in every industry, You have dumb people. Like it just is. You always hope that it's not your doctor.
Did you see that so their Horizon Forbidden West is coming to Steam?
Yeah.
The same day as Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah. Well, you know what? 2 for 2, baby.
I saw somebody made a post and they're like, I think it's a kink at this point. And I'm like, yeah, it might be. It might be.
Like, oh, sorry, Daddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think largely a lot of this is self-inflicted wounds, and it's because they're putting a lot of these restrictions on themselves because they're spending too much money on the projects that they're doing. They're being too ambitious in the wrong areas. It's never gameplay. It's never gameplay that they're spending the money on. It's fucking cinematics and fucking narrative. And it's like, that's all in good, but the problem is that the majority of the content that we've gotten from many of these AAA studios, again, is so fucking sanitized that nobody wants to play it. None of these games have teeth. There's no grit. It's just
Don't do it.
They're pussies. That's all I'm saying. They're fucking pussies.
Oh God. I just ran across it in my notes. My favorite quote on Twitter is from Jorge Murillo, a former Blizzard senior designer. Okay. He's one of the people that got laid off. He says, look, I'm just happy we were able to provide some value to the shareholders. Good on you, Jorge. Good on you.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like because you look at, I would love to know how much money they invested in Starfield.
I don't even want to know. Okay, so I was thinking about Starfield today. Just for instance, you know how like the Twitter warriors are like, well, Starfield did win a Steam award, blah blah blah, for this and that, and I'm like, okay, so it got Steam review bombed, right? That was the big thing, and then it won an award. Both of those things can be true. If you think they got Steam bombed, do you not think that them winning an award on Steam, voted by the Steam players, wouldn't meme it and give them a reward? You don't think that's a no?
Oh man.
Anyway, Starfield. Yeah, I don't know how much they spent on Starfield. If anything, I think they spent too much on Starfield.
Well, that's fucking for sure.
So
Starfield has currently 13,400 concurrent players on Steam.
It has how many?
13,468 concurrent players on
Steam. That is about 13,000 more than I thought it would be.
330K at its peak, by the way.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it had a good peak. Let's look at Baldur's Gate 3. Just out of curiosity, how's this game doing? 24-hour peak, 214,000 players. And now Starfield's the better game. I don't even know why we're having this conversation. Now I understand. I understand that it's on Game Pass. So obviously there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna play it on Game Pass. But 13,000 with a 300,000 peak is still fucking terrible. I'm sorry. Like, there's still a story to be fucking told. When you have your modders that don't want to mod for the game because they say it's too fucking boring and they're just over it, that says something about your game. So when you go and you look at a game like Starfield, just using it as an example, right? Yeah, I guarantee they invested a significant amount of money. They said it was a game that was 25 years in the making. Obviously, I think they've been working on it for like the last 10 years or something like that. So with that said, with 10 years in development, all the money that they put into it, games are a major risk. Because one, I mean, even if you do your market research and you try to do your best to provide a product that you think players want to play, that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is going to take off or do well. There's a lot of different factors that play into it. It depends on what other games come out at that time. It depends on, what the socio-political climate is around the game and the type of things that it does, and all kinds of other factors that go into it. It depends on the economy and all kinds of other stuff, right? But with that said, the problem is that many of these companies are doubled down on these risks, and they're putting all of their focus in areas that probably aren't going to make their game the most successful in the end. And there's also somebody also brought this up to me before, and I need to actually like look into this. I want to see like what the fall off is for a lot of these AAA games after the first 15 hours.
All right, what's the next one that comes out? We'll track it.
Just when I say fall off, when I say 15, I mean 15-hour gameplay mark, because I'm wondering how many of these AAA games are specifically designed for the first 15 hours of gameplay, because most reviewers are only going to get about that far anyway. Yeah. And then they're going to base their entire opinion off of that first 15 hours. Yep. By the way, I mean the shot across. I'll give a shot across the bow for Baldur's Gate 3. I fucking love the game. I love Larian Studios. But one of the things that we did see across almost every single review that I saw is that almost nobody in any review had anything to say about performance issues or quality issues in Act 3, and they were there because they never fucking made it there. Yeah, it's too much game for them to play and too much game for them to review. So largely, a lot of the big reviewers never got to that point, so that was never a part of discussion. Would it have really affected Baldur's Gate 3 in its sales and popularity? Probably not, because the game's fucking fantastic, and a lot of those issues were fixed relatively quickly anyway. But with that said, I'm wondering how many of these companies really focus on the first 15 hours of gameplay and they don't really give a fuck about anything after that. Then they just let as long as the reviewers put out good reviews, everybody buys the game, we get our box price sale out of it, and then afterwards, we'll just clean up the mess when players find out that the other half of the game's kind of fucked up.
I think being a game reviewer is a lot harder job than what I think most gamers think it is. Could you imagine having to review a game that you just don't like? The genre you don't like, you know what I mean? Like, you're already going to go in, like, I think every game reviewer already goes in with a certain level of biasness into a review. That would be super hard to be a clean slate every time you go to start a new review. It just would. And that's probably why they only do 15 or 20 hours of a game, because it's a job and not fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be hard.
Well, and you know what the funny thing is that like, but you need those different perspectives. You need people that are playing games that don't like that necessarily don't like that genre. I think one of the things that's really unique and really cool about Palworld, and I've talked about it a couple times already, is that I like the fact that they automate something that is normally a big barrier of entry for many people when they're getting to play a survival game, which is a lot of players don't like to do the like refining materials, the crafting, like all that stuff. But for the most part, you can automate all that by using the pals to take care of it for you, right? So like they technically lowered a barrier to entry for a lot of players, so that now they're getting into the game much easier than they would other survival games, which tend to be a little bit more on the hardcore side. Like, technically the game has like a food meter, but there's no water meter or sleep meter and stuff like that, which those all serve as barrier to entry for many players that would casually play a game like this.
Yep, they automatically go to sleep when they're tired.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm talking self-imposed stuff on the player themselves, because a lot of these survival games have stuff like that where your character has to sleep, your character has to eat, your character has to drink water,
clean water at that. That pisses me off more than anything when I have to go not just drink water. I have to go get water, boil it, then I can drink it.
Yeah,
I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, games are a huge risk for a lot of these companies to take on, but they're mostly causing a lot of these risks themselves. And it's something that I think overall, hopefully with a lot of the layoffs, many of these companies are going to kind of reflect on that and try to realize, especially with the absolutely viral successes of games that we've had this year that have not come from AAA companies outside of Nintendo. I think largely across the board, if we're talking just generally about Nintendo, they do a pretty good job with pretty much all of their franchises except for Pokemon.
They do a good job with Pokemon. They sell a lot of copies. Yeah, I'm not saying the game's great.
Yeah, but the problem is that Pokemon hasn't really had a whole lot of competition, and as a result, they can just keep churning out the game, and it doesn't matter what the quality of the game is. People are going to buy it regardless. Like, keep in mind that the last Pokemon game was absolute ass.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it's just not a good game. It's just not good.
Bad.
Like, it performs horribly. Some of that limitations on the hardware, but that's also no, it's not the hardware. because Tears of the Kingdom did fine.
Yeah. No, it was poor optimization on their part. I don't know. Like IGN, for instance, like they put specific people on specific games, right? So they put people who are like when Destiny was a big deal. Destin always covered Destiny because he's a big Bungie fan, right?
Yep.
So he does the Halos, he did the Destinies, he had a Destiny podcast on the channel. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So at that point, can you, because he's making money off of Destiny, can you take his opinion valid at that point? Do you understand what I'm saying? He's got, I mean, there is a conflict of interest there. And that's why I think where most gamers, when they hate IGN, is for stuff like that. But what we were saying earlier, I'm just getting back to the review part, as IGN's kind of swung around on that. Is like they're having people put out, I feel like, honest reviews. There was a review back when Tiger Woods golf was a big deal, and their biggest complaint was that there were too many trees. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that even in the deal? Like, there's too many trees. Okay, cool. But yeah, reviewers, I don't know. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could be a game reviewer as a job. I don't think I could do it.
I could.
I don't think I could.
I could. The problem is I wouldn't be able to do much of anything else, right? Because I thought about that before. I was like, man, I would like to do more game reviews, but the problem is that like it's really difficult for me to do that because I want 100% it. So I always look at somebody like I'm using an example, Mortismal Gaming. I love his content, love his videos. But what he does is he does nothing else other than just make the videos of the games that he's playing. And I don't even think he streams, to be honest. I think he just makes his YouTube videos. So with that said, when you have that many, like you're just soaking all these hours into playing this game, and that's all you can really do, like that, it gets tough, dude. And I'd imagine it'd be pretty tough to pull something like that off. Okay. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about today, did you get the chance to watch the speaking of IGN, actually, did you watch the 10 our thoughts after 10 hours of Dragon's Dogma 2 gameplay?
I watched your stream of it, sir. I watched it with you.
Was that fun? Did you enjoy that?
Not so much. Your pacing was kind of trash. The chat was kind of trash.
Anyway, guys, so Mark had to go. He's really sorry that he's really busy today. There's something coming up, I guess. So it's just gonna be me talking to you guys about Dragon's Dogma 2 today. So I hope you guys enjoy this part of the show. I'm personally really excited for it, and I hope you guys are too, because I'm going to be making tons of videos about Dragon's Dogma 2 going forward. Oh, he's back. Okay. How was time out?
It was good. Yeah, because I made a subtopic of this because I put it on the notes for us to talk about Dragon Dogma 2, where the developer came out and said that the fast travel use is a sign of a boring game. So if you have to fast travel, they're saying that the game is boring. And
what did I say about loving when developers in games have some fucking teeth?
Yep. I agree and disagree. So we've come into speaking of gamers aging with as they grow old. Like, I have less time to play, right? So my time is more valuable than say yours is, right? You can walk from city to city, but I'm going to have a limited amount of playtime. Okay. But that doesn't mean that every game is specifically made for everybody, right?
That's also true, yeah.
So that's true. So it's not an entitlement thing. It's just having the option of being able to do something that is, a time saver. I get, like, being able to fast travel. But the main reason where he's absolutely right, is games that add the fast travel in the game is because the areas that you travel between are so fucking boring. There's nothing to do. Yep. There's nothing to see. It's just getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So he's 100% right.
Yeah, I think so. My point that I was having on stream when I was watching the gameplay for Dragon's Dogma 2, one of the things is that when we have games that have fast travel, we become overly reliant on it. we can't help but use it. When it's there, we use it. Why? Because it's designed to be used in the first place. In most occasions, we don't really do a whole lot of just adventuring and world traveling once we have a lot of the fast travel systems unlocked. The only game, which I do find this to be a surprise, I mean, I don't mean to really use this as a really good example, but Palworld actually does a great job of it because, yeah, you can teleport out to a place, and if there's a specific task that you need to do there, you can go ahead and do it. But usually you're using that teleport point so that you can go and explore out further in that area that you're at, right? However, it's rendering that area between those two places completely useless, which in the case of a game like that makes sense because you don't really need that area between, where you're teleporting from and where you're teleporting to because, well, most of that content there is pointless at that point, right? You've either out-leveled it or it doesn't have the resources or anything like that you need between those two areas. Where Dragon's Dogma 2 differs from a lot of games that use fast travel is that the content that's between A and B is not going to be useless. That's actually there specifically. The game is designed for you not to be fast traveling all the time. So that's the other thing to kind of keep in mind. I think a lot of people are like, oh man, that's going to be so tedious. Except for the fact that the game is there specifically to have, random, very unique situations that arise from your travels. Certain things attack you out of nowhere that you're not really expecting. A monster that you're not necessarily expecting to be in that area pops up out of nowhere. I think that's kind of like the best way for me to describe it. You have to keep in mind that this isn't a game where they just removed fast travel. Fast travel will still exist in it, but largely the game was designed not for you to be fast traveling all the time.
Yeah. Well, so the overall or the arcing idea is that fast travel is a quality of life feature. Okay. Then you have games like Starfield where fast travel is the feature. Fast travel is your mechanic of traveling.
Yeah.
It's not you are just fast traveling the entire game. So that there's a difference when the mechanic is based specifically for you to fast travel and when it's a quality of life type deal, like where Ian's mentioned you're going to a certain point to do something specific, like there's a boss dungeon right by this deal, so I'm going to go ahead and fast travel to it to go fight that boss.
Right. Yeah. And largely the other thing is too that I want to bring up, by the way, is that most people that are commenting about Dragon's Dogma 2 not having constant fast travel where you can just fast travel all the time. The reason why it's not in this game is because there's a different way for you to be able to fast travel. There's different ways. There's actually 2 different ways. So there's fairy stones, which allow you, or 3. So there's fairy stones, which allow you to be able to pick where you want to teleport to. That's either to a lodestone or to a keystone or whatever they're called. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. You can tap port stone, I think is what it's called. Port crystals. You can travel to a port crystal, or you can travel to a major city if you've unlocked that major city and that major city's teleport point, right? So you can use the fairy stones, which are going to be rare and also very expensive for you to have, which will obviously later in the game become less difficult to get because you're going to be making more money, right? So as you progress through the game, when people are like, oh yeah, but how is it going to feel after 30, 40, 50, 60 hours? Well, probably you're not going to notice it as much because after 40, 50, 60 hours, you're probably going to have enough gold that you're not really worried about, how expensive the fairy stones are. Now, with that said, Dragon's Dogma also has you use these port crystals where you get one and you get to place it in one place, and then the other one stays in your inventory, and at any time you can use that to teleport back to wherever you set that stone. It's kind of like a Hearthstone in World of Warcraft, where you get to set a main city. So you're gonna, and you get more of them. I think as you progress through the game, you'll get more of those port stones. So there are ways for you to travel, and I think that as you play the game, it's going to be less difficult or less arduous to get the materials for you to be able to travel as much as you want. But largely, they want you to be walking around.
So this is a open world game, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they did what I've been asking open world game creators to do, is to dump the Ubisoft formula. That means I'm not going to be walking around trying to find a tower, go up to the top of the tower, claim it, opens up map, and then I go through, and now I've got fast travel points throughout the map. Because generally what happens when you have the Ubisoft formula, you're literally just running from checkpoint to checkpoint to get your fast travels to be able to travel in when you have a mission to do in that area, to be as close as possible. I applaud this, sir. I applaud it.
Yeah. So, and the thing, keep in mind as well, there's also going to be ox carts. There's going to be other ways for you to travel as well. However, ox carts can be interrupted by a random monster attack. So, it's fast travel. It still uses like a fast travel, but it could be stopped at any moment. And, then you got to, deal with the issue before you can move forward. Now,
hammer down.
Yeah, which is one of those things where, again, like I love those random instances and things that can just happen that, you're not expecting. That's the whole idea of having a game that feels like a living, breathing world. And, one of the things that I always have a problem with is that more times than not, we run into this situation where gamers always say that we want a specific kind of experience, a specific kind of game. However, all we ever want, we say that we want it, but then at the end of the day, once we actually get what we ask for, well, we're mad because it's not convenient enough. So when you have somebody that has a creative vision for a game, this idea that I've always wanted of going on an adventure, a real adventure, like, oh man, this is going to be a long journey. I got to make sure that I have the right materials. I have to make sure that I have the right supplies. I'm really going to have to think about, how I'm going to get to this village. It's going to take a while for us to get there. Is my party ready? Do I have the right equipment? Are they equipped with the right things? Who knows what we're going to see along the way? I want that experience. I've always wanted a game with that experience. I don't want that experience to be self-imposed where I have to pretend like there's no fast travel. No, I want it really given to me. And that's part of the creative vision for this game. And I would guarantee that there's also players, and I'm going to use this as an example, and I hope that this strikes a chord with many people. There's a lot of people that cannot stand that Baldur's Gate 3 is turn-based, that cannot stand how much dialogue there is between characters in Baldur's Gate 3. However, that is part of their creative vision and what that game was made to be. Would you rather them kowtow so that people get the most convenient experience that they can possibly get, or would you rather that company stick to their creative vision and give the game that they were looking forward to making? They did their market research. They knew what audience that they were trying to sell that game to. And in a lot of cases, games do have to pick a specific audience. You cannot appeal to everybody. In this case, Itsuno and Capcom are selling this game with an intended audience that wants to have that real, gritty, difficult, arduous adventure. And that's what we're getting.
Yep. Like I said, as long as the travel, like if there's something to do, if there's something to see, if there's something to explore, I'm all for it. But like I said, when it's just wasted space and time of literally just running, I'm good. I don't need walking simulators. I need an adventure.
Yeah, and see, again, that kind of goes back to what I was talking about before. Keep in mind that the content that's made between A and B is purposefully made. When I saw it in the comment section, somebody said, yeah, but when you've seen the ogre for the 50th time, how do you know it's going to be the same ogre? None of us do. Some of us may be basing that idea off of playing Dragon's Dogma 1, which did have some repetitive enemies in certain areas. Keep in mind, I also liked fighting a lot of those enemies because of the fact that I just enjoyed the combat so much. So even if I was fighting the same group of harpies the 50th time, it didn't bother me because the whole reason to play the game is
I just like
combat.
harpies.
So with that said, the game is designed to be that way. That's the other thing too, is that, one of the interviews that they had, they talked about the Sphinx. And when they were talking about the Sphinx, they were talking about how there are so many things designed in this world that many players are never going to find. But if you do find it, it's going to be a really meaningful experience when you do find some of these encounters, either, quests, either bosses, mini bosses, whatever. It's going to be a meaningful experience if you do find it. They said that they believe that most people that are going to finish the game are never even going to see the Sphinx. And that kind of experience is only achieved when you have these large areas that you have to explore. The idea is that they're going to design a game around the way that players play a game. So they're going to say, oh, well, chances are, if you know that you have to get from this city to this city, players are probably going to try to go directly across, but there's like a mountain pass. So we're going to hide some things in that mountain pass if they choose to do that. The players that are going to try to take the road on this side or the road on this side, well, also they're going to have, maybe this might happen, maybe this might happen. Let's also keep in mind the context of the fact that the game has an AI system that's reactive to the world itself. So in a lot of cases, you know, a troll can walk straight up into a village and just start attacking the village. So it's not like it's just going to be a troll always in the same place, sitting in the road, waiting for you to get there. No, the game's very much a living, breathing world, or at least that's the impression that we've gotten from many of the interviews and the things that they've discussed with the game so far, even with what IGN has said with their 10 hours of gameplay. So, yeah.
Yeah, it looks super interesting. Like I said, next week, let's see, Friday is Grand Blue.
Yeah.
And I want to play it with you. So we are playing Grand Blue together, sir, Friday.
Yeah, I have to figure out who's my main gonna be. There's gonna be over 20 characters at launch.
Yeah, well,
there's all kinds of ones.
So that means that we'll play together and we'll sit in the player creator section or whatever it is, and I'll wait for an hour and a half for you to get your character just right.
No, it's not customization like that. The 20, it's kind of like Genshin Impact, right?
Okay.
Except for it's not a pay to play, or it's not a free to play game with gacha or anything like that. You just pick the characters that you want to play with, and then you go. So I'll just have to figure out what's the character that I want to push with in main and equip up and all that good stuff first.
Yeah, I think I like the main dude. I liked him a lot. So
the main dude. Yeah. Oh, Gron.
Yeah.
Just a dude with a short sword. Come on, man. Did you see the clips?
Story of my life.
Did you see the clips of some of the other characters? There's a dude with a scythe, like big, strong, heavy attacks.
Yeah.
There's.
I'm like, when it comes to melee combat, I don't like. I like the blend of damage and speed at the same time. Like I get like the slow heavy swinging combat. That's the main reason like I have problems with Monster Hunter. It just doesn't appeal to me. That I just don't like it. I just don't like that combat.
You guys see what I deal with.
Yeah. See, Gabriel got my joke. See, there's one. Got one.
There you go.
That's all you need.
So yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that the game's gonna have a whole lot of different options. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really interested to see how well the game does.
Was that March?
Too.
Is that March?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think it is March because February you've got Rebirth as well.
Rebirth. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got to burn through Grand Blue to get to the Rebirth.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth too.
Man, that's a lot. It's a lot of game. It's a lot of game.
A lot of game in real quick succession. A whole lot of stuff that we're going to be doing.
2024, worst year in gaming, hands down.
Yeah, that's really bad. There's too many games to play.
Too many games
to play. Persona 3, Last Epoch, Banishers, Thaumaturge. I don't know. I haven't seen Banishers. I don't know what that one is. Unicorn Overlord. I've seen people talking about that. I don't know what that is. Is that just a game that just like didn't hit my radar or what?
Fucking Gollum 2, dude. Hell yeah.
Gollum 2? Oh,
yeah.
Sweet Gollum update.
Yeah.
Unicorn Overload.
The Golluming. Switch. That's what it's called. It's Gollum 2, the Golluming. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see this. Yeah, I've seen this before. Gameplay overview. I'll have to watch some of this other stuff. So yeah, no, there's a lot of games to look forward to. So this is the part of the show where we like to take the time to talk and discuss with you directly, chat. We've ignored you for long enough. So if you guys have any questions or want to find out anything or ask opinions on something or whatever it might be, this is your opportunity to @ us and ask a question, and we will discuss it. Rapid fire question section. That's what this is.
We need a sound effect. Pew, pew, something.
Rapid fire. Rapid fire round begins now. I'm trying to think.
I'm watching Twitch, see if anybody is over there.
Yeah, I need you guys to hurry it up, okay? Because I just want to go play some fucking Palworld. I just want to turn my brain off and play some Palworld. Actually, I have to cut up some clips because I gotta cut clips up from the last stream.
One hour and 12 minutes on this one.
You're supposed to send more send me some recipes for my air fryer, and you didn't, you motherfucker.
Yeah, I did. You just didn't do them. Oh, you know what my favorite thing to do is now? Is go to wherever you get your deli meat from, be it Walmart or wherever.
Yeah.
Get like the deli pepperoni, some smoked Gouda, and some ham, and then lay parchment paper in your air fryer and
Yeah.
lay it on top with the cheese on top. Just set it at 400 and just let it go, right? And then once it's done, you pull it out and put it on a like a warm tortilla and roll it up like a wrap. Change your life, bro. Put some porcinis on there. Change your life. It's like an Italian sub.
Yeah, that sounds actually pretty good.
It's really good.
I don't know about the tortilla, but you know.
Well, I mean, you can put it on a sub. You can put it on a sub sandwich if you wanted to.
With some barbecue sauce. What's wrong with you?
Tortillas are good.
Okay,
yes,
so
crispy melty cheese, Jackie.
Here we go. Now we got some people popping up some questions. At Legendary Drops, BattleBit is competing well with AAA. I'd like to see more competition with the titans of the industry, aka Call of Duty. Your opinion? My opinion, I think BattleBit's a really good example. To a lesser extent, also the finals. I'm not really a huge fan of the finals. It just felt super generic to me. I think some of the parts of it were really cool, but other parts, but I wasn't really too big of a fan of. I would like to see somebody try to make a Call of Duty competitor, a genuine Call of Duty competitor. But I think for the most part, I think people are trying to pull away from like the more like arena style shooters and things like that. As they're really trying to push into battle royales, extraction shooters are going to be the next real big push that you're going to see a lot of people make. So I think largely one of the reasons why Call of Duty really hasn't been, competed against is mostly just because consumer sentiment is shifting into areas where it's not necessarily the general Call of Duty product anymore. It's specific parts. You have people that like Call of Duty the game. You have people that like Warzone. You have people that like the multiplayer. And I think companies are mostly trying to compete with them on each one of those different aspects rather than like the whole package, if that makes any sense. It'd be too difficult for indie studios or AA or single A to be able to try to compete in all three realms at the same time.
Yeah. Over on Twitch, Slothhoffa, did you guys talk about the PlayStation banning Chronos in the new PS5 update? We did not, but I did read the article on it. So if you don't know what Chronos is, it is a third party extension to run your controller through to give you aim assist, stuff like that.
That's good. That's good for consoles. That's good for crossplay. It's good for
crossplay. A lot of console players think that it's PC people specifically cheating when it's both.
Yeah. And so many of the cheater, like a lot of the cheating actually has to do with those controllers. And
but I honestly feel it'll only be a matter of time until Chronos themselves just updates their firmware.
Well, yeah, of course. That's what they do, right? I mean, they're fucking hacking. I'm surprised these companies just don't go after them. You know what I mean?
They're not, though. They're not hacking. All they're doing is modifying the signal between the controller to the PlayStation.
Yeah, that's true. Mystery Cookie at Legendary Drops. With the rise of so many games in the industry, how do you handle game ADHD or that feeling of being stun locked on which game to play? You picked the perfect person to ask this question.
Mr. I finish games.
I don't finish shit. And to be honest with you, I don't think you have to feel bad about not finishing a game. As long as you had fun playing it, that's all that really matters. I used to feel really bad about not finishing games because I actually generally do have ADHD. It's one of the reasons why it's so easy for me to make YouTube videos. But when I'm playing games, for the most part, there are a few that will capture me, and I think that really largely has to do with the game that I'm playing. It's more of that game's job to capture me, keep me there, keep me playing until I beat it all the way to the end, right? I mean, I have 400 hours in Baldur's Gate 3. I have, two separate full campaign playthroughs. I've probably made at least 8 or 9 different save files on the game, or probably more than that by now. I've played Terraria all the way through many times. Modded Terraria as well all the way through many times. There are certain games that I play and I beat. I beat Final Fantasy 16 last year. I beat Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Like there's games that are out there that I've beaten, but I think that largely just has to do with like you making sure that you're picking games and you're only playing games that you know that you're going to love. And then just stick with it. And then also don't buy anything else for yourself to play.
Yeah. FOMO is the hardest thing as a gamer to deal with. Because when something new and shiny comes out, we want to instantly gravitate to it. So if you're playing a game that you're enjoying and loving, just finish that game. That's why I haven't really jumped into Enshrouded, is because I want to finish Palworld first. I want to give Enshrouded its fair breath. You know what I mean? So yeah, finish the game that you're on, and then go on to the next one. That's the only way to do it. Just control the FOMO. No FOMO.
At Legendary Drops from Dark Hollow, do you guys think that Nintendo will sue Palworld, or are they biding their time until evidence is gathered?
They would have already shut them down. They shut down mods that made Palworld look like Pokemon. They would have already shut them down.
That's a really good point. So they DMCA'd the Pokemon mod, but they haven't DMCA'd anything else regarding Palworld. So largely, I think that Nintendo really just put out a statement because they were probably tired of hearing people say anything. Probably tired of people being like, "Oh my God, Nintendo hasn't said anything about the game. Are they aware of it? Do they not know? Like, how do you not know? The game sold like 8 million copies in like 4 days or whatever it was. Yeah, they know about the game. So I think personally, I don't think that they're going to get sued because I actually, and this is a personal belief, I don't think they really have the grounds to sue them.
They don't. I watched a video on copyright infringement, and there are so many points of contention we're going with that. You have to prove that it is an exact replica of something. You have to prove that. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. You have to prove how much money you've lost because of it, because this game came out or whatever. Yep. I mean, there's just so many things that go into it.
There's keep in mind too, the other thing is that one of the things that people are relatively confused on is there's a difference between like copyright and trademarking, right? Like there's something that is like a sign of your trade. The other one is something that you actually have that's copyrighted, right? And the problem is that when it comes to the trademarking, they do such a good job at basically vaulting anything that Nintendo could sue for, because in essence, Palworld is just not the same kind of game. The funny thing is people don't really realize this, but the violent aspect and the slavery and all that good stuff, that largely has to do with that largely protects Palworld from being sued, because it makes it so completely different than Pokemon, because none of those things actually exist in there. The other thing is too, is that when you're like, people think that like Pokemon has like all of their characters characters copyrighted. They don't.
No,
it's only a few. Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Charizard. It's not even Charmander. It's just Charizard.
All the main ones that you've seen in the cartoon and the whatever movies that they do.
Yeah,
those are generally the ones that they have.
Not all of their designs are even copyrighted in the first place. So even still there's even less ground to stand on. And as long as there's enough difference in the character for it to not be easily recognized as a Pokemon character, that's where things like, oh, well, it has this one element from this one Pokemon on it. Well, that's not enough for them to be able to constitute it being infringement.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And from my understanding, plagiarism isn't actually theft. Like there's some areas where plagiarism can infringe on copyright or trademark.
Yeah.
But largely plagiarism, for the most part, I don't think they're not going to get hit on for anything.
No, it's not even plagiarism. It's like we talked about last week. It's a parody. You know what I mean? So these almost all of them are a parody of something that's in the Pokemon world. So It's not like they're not 1-to-1 ratios.
Legendary drops. You're going to stream Valheim when Ashlands drops. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on what's going on at the time. What's out at the moment. Usually when it comes to Valheim, I kind of give it some time to just stack up some content for me to come back to. At Legendary drops, you guys remember all the legacy developers and directors making their own studios. Do you keep up with them? I remember Japan having a few Sony Japan studios closed down. You want to take that?
Oh, sorry. I was waiting for you to speak. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really keep up a whole lot with it, to be honest with you, because there's so many people that have been moving and shaking, especially with all these layoffs. and people who have left, even just if you just look at Blizzard and specifically, like some of the people who created Blizzard in the first place have moved on and started their own studios. But the thing is like a lot of these people that are getting laid off and studios closing down, there's only so many people within those studios that have the wherewithal and the liquid assets or fluid assets to be able to start a studio. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy, but yeah, there's a lot of shakeup, a lot of new studios will be made, and so I think we're going to see a lot more indie games than we are AAA out of it. To be honest with you.
Oh, well, you take the next one. Pulling something up real quick.
You're right, Jackie. Nintendo doesn't have a case. I'm telling you right now, if Nintendo had even, let's say, even if they had a 10% of a case, they would have already sent their DCMA after it. Yeah. I promise you.
Yeah,
Nintendo does not play.
No, they would have struck it down already, especially when it comes to their pride and joy, their baby. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's just gonna be no way. Let's see here. I don't think.
Nyquist asked, "How do I finish World of Warcraft?" And I typed back, "Uninstall." That's how you beat World of Warcraft. The game never ends.
Looks like we don't have any more questions.
All right.
So one of the things that I was going to say is that I am going to actually stream after this, but I'm not going to be streaming on YouTube because I don't really want to like blast people with multiple notifications and 2 separate streams. YouTube gets really weird about it, and I don't want to annoy the shit out of people. So after this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be streaming over on Twitch. So I'm going to go ahead and post my Twitch link down at the bottom. If you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow over there, you guys can come and join me on Twitch after this. And then and we'll hang out. I'm probably just going to be playing Palworld or something like that, to be honest. Just vibing, just hanging out. So if you guys want to come hang out for a little while, watch me dick around on Palworld, you can.
Do you have a code for your and Jackie's World? Palworld?
Why? But you want to join?
Yeah. Why wouldn't
I? Sure you can, but just just be careful.
What do you mean be careful? You think I'm just going to go in and destroy everything? You think I would go in there and start resorting your containers? Do you think I would do something like that to my long tenured friendship that I have with you? You think I would put that? You think I would 100%? The first thing I would do was go to those containers.
I'm just saying my island is kind of it's the hood.
Oh, so you're just saying be safe when you're rolling through the hood. Gotcha.
I'm just saying be safe, dog. You don't know what's
you don't even like tortillas. So how scared of you can I be?
I love tortillas.
Then why wouldn't you want to eat my sandwich on a tortilla? It's a wrap.
Because it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a sandwich. It sounds like
it's a wrap.
It sounds like an appetizer.
You live in California. It's a wrap. I know you know what a wrap is.
Oh God. Why do you make it sound so bad? Why'd you just dox me?
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. He lives in the whole state.
Yeah.
Funny. You just doxed me.
So anyway, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, dude, I've had a lot of caffeine today. So
well, I had a cup of coffee before the stream started, but then after that I was like, you know what, we're not gonna get crazy about this. You know what I mean? We're not gonna get wild about this. We're gonna be wild about this. All right, so the links have been dropped in chat. Outside of that, hey, by the way, if you guys came into the podcast late, you can always rewind and you can watch the rest of it because the VOD is going to be up right after this is closed. So you just can, that's a beautiful part about watching streams over here on Twitch or on YouTube. I mean, on Kick. I mean, on Cam Soda.
I love Jackie. She's the best. She is the absolute best.
So anyway. Anyway, so I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you for, hanging out and following. This has been an absolutely blast of a great time. Awesome show today.
Yeah, it was a great show. Dude, like, you know what? This is the highlight of my week, to be honest with you. It is. It is the highlight of my week.
I look forward to it every day.
It was a good show.
I look forward to it every single time. Every single time. Okay, so that is it for us, guys. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm going on Twitch live right after this. The stream's going to shut down and it's going to pop right back up on Twitch. So I'll see you guys there in just like 2 seconds. So anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, my friends. And we will see you in the next podcast. Peace. Fucking forgot the end screen.